everybody, and welcome back, one and all, to Learn by Play series here on a Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons channel. So good to see everybody here tonight. We've got our full cast and crew back today on episode 3 of the Learn by Play series as we tackle a couple of topics like XP, level ups, magic items, and loot. So picking up from where we left off, let's briefly introduce our characters once more. If you guys are new, you might not have met them, but if you've been here the previous 2 weeks, you'll recognize these faces. We have Mr. Toolschool with us today. How you doing, Toolschool?
I am doing great. Looking forward to another session, hopefully to try to keep Reverie from, losing our hands, I guess. And I will be playing Fulton Stump. He is a Grave Domain cleric and Furlbog. So we will see how this goes moving forward.
Yeah, amazing. We also have Sydney with us today, lacking the hands. How's it going, Sid?
It's going good. I'm all stumpy over here. I'm playing Reverie Fane. She is a high elf rogue. And to explain the hands thing, if you weren't here last week, there's a trap at the end. I rolled a nat 1, and now I don't have any hands. And hopefully somebody will give me my hands back by the end of this episode.
I mean, you do have hands. They're just
you have
impaled.
hands. They've
just been impaled severely.
That's it, yeah. Amazing. We also have Louise back with us today. How are you doing, Louise?
I am doing fantastic. I'm excited for Reverie to get her hands back as well. We're all in this together. I am playing Desira Elstina, who is a high elf fighter who once belonged to this very region, but does no longer, but is excited to be back.
Yeah, amazing. And last but not least, we have Mr. Encounter Josh back today. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm good. Baffled, no idea what's going on, and that's just me, let alone my character, who is also Bert Bartleby Baxter, and baffled and has no idea what's going on, for he is a wizard gnome who is somehow ended up traveling with a bunch of very intimidating and powerful individuals, and he's just not. He doesn't fit in at all. It's good.
Incredible. As myself, my name is Will. I'm from Encounter Roleplay, and I'm a D&D sex icon. I'll also be your dungeon master for today as we head into this Learn by Play series. Now, what is a Learn by Play series? In case you haven't tuned in before, we're playing the Tomb of Annihilation, of course, but we want to help out dungeon masters and players alike who are going to be taking on not only the Tomb of Annihilation itself, but also just generally D&D campaigns for 5th edition. Myself, as the DM, will take moments away from the screen in our Tomb Insights sessions, I suppose, in our secret DM cave, and I'll hit on a couple of main topics each week to try and help you guys out, and also answer some of your questions live in Twitch chat as well. So during those Tomb Insight questions, great time to ask me some questions, and we'll have a little bit of Q&A during that as well. We'll also take some one-on-one time with players to talk about character development, and this session in particular about their leveling up process as well. The last thing is that we're using meat grinder rules throughout the rest of this campaign, the entirety of it, and that's because we want to show you guys that it doesn't have to be a game killer, and the Tomb of Annihilation is to be enjoyed, not endured. Yes, indeed. So let's remind ourselves of what happened last week on the show, because a whole lot of stuff went down in episode 2, and we should remind ourselves of where we found ourselves in this campaign. So the players set off from Port Nyanzaru after a brief encounter with some of the Yuan-Ti, and ended up setting out into the interior of Chult itself. They found themselves in a little bit of a tough spot in a trading negotiation deal with some of the canoers, the canoeists of Port Nyanzaru, but they did manage to get plenty of supplies and a couple of canoes to take themselves down one of the main rivers through Chult. Along the way, they had a couple of encounters with some newt-like fellows who were not happy at all to see them, and who were brutally murdered by Reverie. Most of the kills so far have definitely gone to Reverie in a most brutal display as she murdered amongst their own offspring that were in the waters. They moved on from there and came to a camp that they had been searching for some paladins in. Now, this camp was Camp Vengeance, or was it Camp Righteous? Camp Righteous was the first one, yes. And after a brief encounter with a snake in there, they had a look around for their paladin friends. Seems like they weren't there and that the camp had been deserted. Fulton Stump did a kind of divine sense to see if there were enemies in the area, and divined that there were over 100 or so undead creatures, fairly low in power, within a 1 mile radius of this camp. So it seems like the jungles of Cholt are definitely infested with all sorts of bad stuff. Furthermore, they then went into this little kind of shrine area of this big statue of a man and a crocodile. Upon entering, Fulton and Reverie saw too many of the traps. However, at the very end, Reverie, despite knowing that there was a trap of spikes that would run through your hands, she rolled a nat 1 to disarm them and took a whole boatload of damage and now has her hands impaled. So that is where we're going to begin off today's story, with the lovely Reverie's hands becoming impaled with our players. But before we do that, we're going to go to the first insights, the tomb insight for today, and then we're going to talk about a couple of our character level ups as well, so you guys can understand a little bit better about how these guys have gone from level 3 to level 4. So, I will see you guys, lovely players, in a couple of minutes' time. It's time for you and I chat to go to our secret DM cave. See you guys in a minute. Bye. Those poor fools. So, let's go into our first tomb insight of the day. We're going to be talking about when to level up your party and how to calculate experience. So there's a couple of things that go into this. You might have noticed that from last session, they leveled up from level 3 to level 4. We're going to be talking with the players about their process of that, how they went about leveling up, and a couple of things that you might want to bear in mind when you are leveling up your party. So, a couple of different methods of level ups. I'll show you guys a table first of all, so that we can know what we're talking about here. Here we go. This is a leveler table. This is a character advancement table for 5e. So you can see here, you're at level 1, you have 0 experience points. By the time you hit level 2, you need to have acquired 300 experience points, level 3, 900, and so on and so forth, right? So, the first method for leveling up your characters is to do it standard, right? You calculate all of the XP of the creatures that they've defeated, you add that up, you distribute that amongst the characters, and wait until they have hit that certain goal there, that sort of milestone, 300, 900, 2,700, and so on and so forth. Of course, when the creatures get more higher levels, they're gaining more experience. So whilst the rate of progression does kind of slow out, by the time you hit about level 5, I tend to find that things slow down within my games, then you should be hitting levels less and less often. But I think the first question to ask yourself when you're a DM is, why are you leveling the party up? What is the point of them leveling up, I suppose? Well, first of all, it's to show that the characters are advancing in their own powers. They're gaining new abilities, they're becoming stronger as a unit and as a party that are traveling together. I like in my own games, rather than going for a standard counting of XP, because personally I hate math. And I'm very bad at it as well. I know a lot of people are terrible at maths as well. So why do it? Why even bother? I don't even bother anymore. So what I do is like a more milestone method of rewarding experience and leveling the party up either by session or by quests. And I tend to enjoy leveling parties up, particularly when they have completed quests and they've done something in the world. For instance, when the party discovered Camp Righteous and discovered everything that was going on there, they had come a fair way since Port Nyanzara. They'd experienced a fair amount, and whilst I hadn't gone to calculate every individual piece of XP, because, you know, who has time for that these days? It's 2017, man. I just decided to level them up, because level 3 to level 4 seemed like a reasonable jump for them to make, having used a lot of their powers, having worked together, and shown me that they have, done some problem solving. So that's how I intend to level my party up. Another way that I've seen it done is to level parties up just by the sessions that you play. For instance, after the first session, level 1 to level 2 may happen. After 2 sessions after that, level 2 to level 3 happens. 3 sessions, level 3 to level 4 happens, and so on and so forth. So that's another way you can do it. It depends how much you really care about maths, I suppose. It cares how quickly you want your game to progress. Do you quickly want it to level up to level 5, and then from on there go into the higher levels of play? If so, that's completely valid. Or if you want a slower burn to your campaign, it may take them several sessions to level up. So we'll be talking more about that as we go through today's campaign. And we are going to hear from the players a little bit. I'm going to see if you guys got any questions here in Twitch chat real quick. Let's see, Bad Boy Grant's in chat there. What's up, Mike? So yeah, the other thing that I would note is be aware of your party's level ups. Be aware and track their new abilities. Keep an eye on changing stats, like AC is one in particular that you might want to keep an eye on, particularly if you're wanting to make sure that you are balancing out the game, which is what we'll talk about in our third Tomb Insights later on today. But hopefully, that's just a quick insight into how this leveling up process has begun and how you might do that in your own campaigns. And now let's go hear from the players to talk about their own level ups and what they have done to change their characters. So, we're back with the players over here, and I want to quickly run around the table and for you to just briefly describe your leveling up process, any new abilities, any powers that you have, and any particular home rules that we might have agreed upon previously to explain to the players. So I'll hand over to Tall School once again and go around our usual rotation. So, Tall School, talk to me about your level up from Fulton Stump level 3 to 4.
Of hit points, rolling a hit die. The big thing I did is I took the tough feat instead of taking a upgrade in any of my individual attribute stats. What that does is it gives you an extra 2 hit points for every level that your character is. So in addition to the normal roll of hit points, Fulton ends up with another 8. Being our healer and probably needing to stay alive since, traps. I figured that me having as many hit points as I can get is going to be the most helpful. And also I felt it fit into Fulton's story sort of as this big furl bog, 8 foot tall sort of guy, that it fit his story as well.
Fantastic. Awesome. Did you pick any new spells or any new bits that particularly level up from 3 to 4 for the cleric?
Well, for cleric, you basically just get one more level 2 spell that you're able, spell slot.
Yeah.
And since clerics always know all of their spells, I can also prepare one additional spell. So for me, I got a cantrip as well. I took the light cantrip, seeing as none of us had it, and it would have been helpful to have last time. And I went ahead and took Prayer of Healing, again, thinking that if we can't take a short rest, that for 10 minutes, we could go and get some healing that way. I think this is going to be a game of us trying to stay healed for as long as possible.
Very good, very good. All right, cool. Let's hear from Reverie. What changes were made from level 3 to level 4 for you?
For me, I just increased, you got to increase an ability score by 2. I didn't have any that would be affected if you just increased them by 1. And I really needed a constitution modifier. It was 0, and I just needed some more.
Need some more help, yeah.
Last time we were here after the show, everyone was like, how many hit points do you have? I was like, 18, and everybody made fun of me, so I increased.
So you gave in to peer pressure.
Yeah, I gave in to the peer pressure. I increased my constitution, so now my modifier is 1. So I'm hot now, hot shit.
Yeah.
And then I got to increase my HP. So now if I impale my hands again, guess who's gonna be okay? This girl.
We'll see about that. Awesome. Josh, what changes were made for the gnome wizard Bert Bartleby Baxter?
So I went really crazy with Bert to level him up, and what I did was I added a dex score. So my AC, standing AC, is now 11. Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. So he now has an 11 AC, took all of that in dex, but I also get 2 spells and a cantrip. So the cantrip took Shocking Grasp, because I just thought to myself, would have been amazing if I could have just put my hand in the water and shocked all of those newts. That would have saved us a lot of time, and it's up close and personal spell. And then I also took Sleep, because I feel like sometimes I just need to shut the party up, because they're the ones that talk too much, not me. And I also, for my other spell, I took Flaming Sphere, because got to have a little bit of offensive in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So that is what we've learned from your good self, Josh and Bartleby Baxter. Louise, talk to us about Desira and her level ups.
Desira's level up was quite simple. I got obviously the new hit point, which is very good. I'm feeling very strong and powerful. I got some new points in my abilities, so I'm feeling even stronger and a little bit more dexterous too, I might say.
Really?
And with the Fighter Eldritch Knight class, I got a new spell to have. And with Desira being back home and not necessarily wanting people to know she's back home, I've taken Disguise Self, which I think will come in very handy in the future.
Very cool, very cool. All right, then. So, let's go into the Tomb of Annihilation, and let's start this thing off from where we left off at Camp Righteous with Reverie and Fulton and Desira and Bert Bartleby Baxter within this small little sort of shrine area. You guys are inside this kind of stone edifice, which is pretty damn tall compared to the rest of the camp. You guys have entered in, disabled several of the traps within it, and up on this 7 feet high ledge, Reverie sits on Fulton's shoulders, right? Just kind of gave her a leg up, and she has tried to disarm this pit of stakes, which when you step on this stone ledge to enter into what seems to be like the end room, you get spikes that shaft up into your feet. But she has gone up there with her hands and rolled a natural 1. I believe taking 16 hit points worth of damage last week. And so let's pick up right from there. Reverie, you see these spikes just go straight through your hands and embed themselves there, as there are now these big, big holes where your hands once were, and these stakes have just driven themselves up there. And Fulton, you hear her scream of pain.
Right before she screams, Fulton is saying, "Do be careful of the..." Oh. Are you stuck? Do you need assistance getting off the spikes? So Fulton sort of reaches up and lifts her hands off, so I'm sure there's a nice as her hands come off. And while he has his hands on her, he does go ahead and cast a Cure Wounds at 2nd level on our friend.
Very nice.
For a total of 14 healing.
Very nice. So, yeah, as you kind of pull her off from this spike trap, you go to heal her hands. And as you try to kind of heal them back up, it doesn't work quite the same as it would have done previously, were it not for the strange death curse which is going on in this place. You do manage to knit flesh back together. Where these big holes were in her hands, the flesh knits itself back together. However, the flesh looks old and rotten, and it smells of this sickly, sweet kind of rot. The same look as Sindra Sylvain has going on in her face, as the kind of goblets of flesh kind of melt off from her face. And the holes are now covered up, but it's not pretty.
This does not bode well. Is the trap disarmed at this point?
No, it goes back down and resets.
Is everything all right?
We've got a bigger problem that we'll need to solve, but I feel we've come this far. We should at least see what we've paid this price for. I can still, since I'm 8 feet tall, I can still see the trap and where it is.
Yeah.
Is this a thieves' tool thing to disarm, or is a way? Actually, is there any loose stone around me?
Yeah. This place is fairly old, so there are definitely loose kind of bricks in the architecture that you could pull out.
I want to try to find some pieces that are big enough, basically, to slam them down on top of these spikes, so that that if they do pop back up, either they get caught by the rocks, or break them basically with rocks instead of trying to disarm it. I'm gonna just try to destroy it.
Okay.
Can I do like a strength check or athletics check?
Roll me an athletics check to bust through this thing.
Nat 20.
Oh! Yeah. So that is definitely working out a lot better than Reverie's method. And so you just smash through these spikes and you kind of clip up the top of them and disarm them. You're fairly sure that you can now safely traverse the ledge.
So I'll help the other folks get up there again, since I can sort of see and land them with care. If they're willing to. If they're not, then I'll go up and investigate myself. Yeah, how's Reverie doing with her hands now, looking this way?
Question. You are muted.
Muted. I got it. She's definitely in shock. That she probably like hasn't actually said anything, and she's just like kind of like doing like this, getting a feel for her hands. I guess. Maybe. Yeah, she'll probably buy gloves if we end up going to a store or something. But like, she doesn't really have any words. She's just kind of like in shock because she was kind of under the impression that like nothing was really going to happen to her here. She was here to protect Bartleby. So being the like first one that's super injured is like a little bit of a wake up call.
Yeah. All right. Desira and Bert, you will also notice this happening, and Fulton is looking to you as to whether or not you guys want to continue into this little shrine area.
I'll continue.
Bert tries to make light of the situation. Says, if that was cooking, it would be, that the hands would be done just right, because it's just when the flesh just falls off the bone, we should continue onwards. Onwards we go. Everything will be fine.
Reverie, are you okay to continue?
Yes, I'll just. And she like puts her hands in her pockets, and she's like, "Yeah, I guess."
When we have some time, I would like to see if I can diagnose what's potentially happening there. Hopefully, it is not the same as what is going on with Syndra. That it just looks similar, but. So I guess we move forward. What's up on the ledge?
Yeah, so you guys jump up the ledge with the help of Fulton, Bartleby, Desira, and Reverie can all get up there, and you find yourself on this higher level, and before you is the end of this shrine chamber. At the very end of it, there is a large ceramic jug, which sits on a pedestal about 30 feet before you. The width of the room is only 10 feet wide, so enough for about 2 or 3 people to kind of inch through there. And there are sets of cobbled stones which layer themselves leading up to the ceramic jug.
Can we look to see if there's any kind of unlevel platforms like there were before?
Yeah, you guys can roll me perception checks as you dive in here.
Yeah, because 12 for Fulton.
Okay.
17 for Desira.
An 8. A mighty 8.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I feel like you have an excuse to not do very well.
Yeah, you're distracted.
Yeah, you're a little bit distracted at this point. You've got new holes in your hands. You got this is something you got to get used to a bit. It's an adjustment process. So Desira and Fulton, you do not notice that there are any other ledges in here. It does not seem as though there is another way to traverse higher up or even again lower down either. But you will notice that above several of the steps you see a light glowing of something magical that you could identify to be a trap. If you were to step on this, something would happen. You're not sure yet exactly what.
Okay.
Is there... Bartleby,
yes?
You are the most familiar with the arcane. As I point out to him, since he was not paying attention, that stone over there, it seems to have some sort of arcane trap. Arcanery. Arcane trap.
Some kind of arcanery here.
Fiendish arcanery.
Fresh caught arcanery. About it. Perhaps you have a way to help disarm it so we don't have another incident.
Okay. So interesting thing, I have Artificer's Law for being a rock gnome. Whenever you make an intelligence check, in brackets history, check related to magic items, alchemical objects, or technological devices, you can add twice your proficiency bonus instead of your normal ones. Does that apply here?
I'll allow that, yeah. Why not?
Wondrous. Absolutely splendid.
You can roll a history check with double your proficiency bonus to see if you've ever seen or read up on any ward such as this.
Okay.
Perhaps
so
it's
in my
gnomish.
learnings, that's a 26 with my plus
That's
2.
it's pretty good.
Damn, son.
That's pretty
I
good.
know the facts.
You got those facts on point. Yeah. So you know that on steps 3, 10, 17, and 23, there is a glyph of warding spell on it, set to trigger when the step is walked upon. If you want to write that down, those are steps 3, 10, 17, and 23 that have the warding upon it. You are fairly sure that this will release a radius of lightning, which would not only damage you, but would also bring the ceiling collapsing down upon you.
So Bert sort of looks around and just says, everything is absolutely fine, apart from the ultimate death weapons that have been left lying around. You see them on the floor? It looks like writing. It's fascinating. You ever wondered sort of what was better, the pen or the sword? Well, if the pen wrote something like that, well, definitely the pen would win. Oh, and also don't step on it. In fact, just don't step anywhere that I don't step. Pretend that you are very small and follow me. And he's going to sort of like start wandering away. It's like, interesting. It's like a sightseeing tour as he's going down. Like, interesting thing about this place is it was wonderfully designed. You can see sort of in the architecture and stuff. Oh, don't step there. You will die. So anyway, yes. And I'm going to hopefully lead everyone there. Like, I've seen the traps.
Yeah.
There is no way there could be more than one trap. So I'm just like straight there.
So the way you do this is just by walking down, and when someone almost steps on it, you say, "Don't step there, you'll die." I like this method. Yeah. Well, you guys will definitely be able
almost
to.
prefer to die, I think. Than listen to that.
Can you like going on holiday with Bartleby must be amazing.
Yeah. So you get a history lesson to boot as well, you guys, as you. Yeah, it's very much a tourist trap role. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys will get to the end of the steps, and the ceramic jug is in front of you. Ceramic, slightly golden. Doesn't look like it would be worth particularly much if you just sold it. You know, it's not made of pure gold, clearly. But it's been placed here upon the pedestal as if waiting for someone.
I suggest we don't go right up and touch it. I think that might be a mistake. I think we should all guard our hands.
Pick it up with your teeth.
Hands in pockets.
They're much more precious than you would ever realize.
Run out of here with your hands in your pockets.
So yeah, Bird sort of is going to investigate the pedestal to see if there's like I'm expecting there to be like a weight trap or something like that.
Yeah, the
Little Indiana Jones thing
Yeah.
happening here.
Sure.
Got like my bag of beans ready. I'm so ready for that switch.
The Rolling Stone is about to. Yeah. Roll me an investigation check.
Oh, fantastic.
Can I do a perception just to get a look at the area as well?
For sure.
For sure. That's a nat one.
It's 19 by Fulton.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's a nat one. I nat one.
Oh.
It's either this is either the most booby trap thing I've ever seen, or it's just entirely fine. It's an urn, and I will
Spikes come out of the jug on your hands. No.
Oh my god.
You die.
No.
No, Bartleby, you don't spot any traps upon it. You can't sense any kind of pressure plate upon it either. And Fulton, you don't sense a pressure plate of sorts upon this thing either.
So usually Bert would do the sensible thing using the mage hand, but in that one, he's absolutely confident. There's nothing wrong here. But he can't reach it. So he just turns to Fulton and is just like, could you do the boosting me up thing, but not the boosting thing up you did with Reverie that horrifically maimed her. I don't want that. So just lift me slightly.
Fulton reaches over, picks up the note, just kind of palms him, and holds him out to the urn.
Like a bomb. Just
yes.
And Bert just, without any hesitation, snatches up this urn to it, and he just begins to inspect it as probably we all die.
Everybody roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Yay!
And there it is.
Honestly, though, I was gonna say I'm gonna be so pissed if he's like, I'm just gonna go touch it and like doesn't take any damage, and I was like so careful.
18 for Fulton.
All right, that's pretty good.
17, the perfect number.
13 for Desira.
Excellent.
I'm scared. I don't want to do it.
19.
Pretty good.
We-
19, look at
You
you.
guys are nailing this for sure. So let's see. All right, so how many dice
Let me
do
look
I
on
get
this
to
chart
roll?
of just how bad it is.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, Desira, you take 13 damage as the ceiling collapses
Beautiful.
and the rubble which collapsing down around you smashes you on the head.
Ooh,
The
nice.
group of you, the rest of you manage to dodge aside these falling, collapsing bits of rubble as they're coming down around you. And it's clear that this whole structure is in danger of collapsing upon you now. And you're about 30 feet away from the ledge, and then from down the ledge you're another 30 feet away from the exit.
Does it seem to be, I mean, since the jug didn't seem particularly interesting, does there seem to be anything else up here? Alcoves? I mean, is there, for the protection that things were offered, it just seems the jug is... Fulton's disappointed. He was expecting a dinosaur.
Came all this way.
He was expecting a whistle of dinosaur control.
You could, take a moment here to stay behind and roll another perception check now that the pedestal is free.
Actually, I think I will, but I also might push the others and say, I'll be right behind you.
We have
Also,
to
just
go.
sort of protecting the rear as well, in case it is something that might need strength to stop, like a giant boulder so he can.
Okay.
Okay, so Will, I
Yes.
would like to try a thing, just to get us out as quickly as possible.
I'd love you to.
So here's my idea. There's no better way to get out of like a situation like this than a slip and slide.
Right.
So I want to cast grease on the corridor that we're about to run down, so we can just slide off the ledge and like power slide through that gap.
Yes.
Can I go bowling bowling for gnomes?
Yes.
Please let me go bowling for
Do
gnomes.
it. Do it.
I love it.
Athletics check of just
Well, you realize this now, but the surface of the floor is slightly on a tilt, perfect for sliding down.
You notice 2 lines of traps like all the way down the side.
Bowling pins at the end. Yeah. So, Fulton, you could. So, I guess the action for Bartleby is to cast grease on the floor, right?
yeah.
Or on himself. He just greases himself.
Oh my god.
I love it. So immediately, Bartleby, we see him covered, doused in like oil and butter, and his whole surface of his body, his tiny little body, is just covered in this lubricant, and he begins to take down. Are you trying to take the others with you?
Yeah, I'm going to like slaver up the corridor as I slide down to
You're
give
gonna
them like,
lava it as you go.
I'm like basically one of those giant floor things that the buff floors that are no flailing around.
like a Zamboni that like screws but it's just like great
Yes.
margarine everywhere.
It's like Wizards has made this horrible, awful, undead filled thing. Yeah, we can ruin that.
I think this is good.
It is now greased gnomes falling out.
Right. So
Yeah.
I slaver myself
Yes.
up. Bowl me, Fulton. Do it.
Toscal, roll me an athletics check to bowl Bartleby accurately.
24.
20 like a shot.
He is perhaps too good at this. As Bartleby, we just see him greasing himself up and being slid down with great velocity, as he's very aerodynamic, down the tunnel to the ledge. Bartleby, roll me a dexterity saving throw as you go down from the ledge and try not to connect with the roof. He's gone too fast, like
He delved too deep and too
too
greedily.
quickly.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's done this before.
14. A 14.
A 14's pretty good. You manage to escape and you're down on the ledge, 30 feet down the end of the corridor. You can see the exit is within sight. So let's go to Reverie and Desira. You watch as this gnome has essentially lubed up the rest of the corridor for you guys. It is very slippery, quite dangerous going, unless you wanted to potentially slide down it as well. I'm sure there's a bunch of creative uses we could find here.
Yeah, if you guys wanted to just run, I've ruined that for you, by the way.
Yeah. I guess I'll slide.
Yeah.
I'll scoot.
You're gonna scoot along. I like it. Okay. So roll me a dexterity save to slip and slide down here.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, there's a little
If
sign
I
up.
give them the old chuck, do they get advantage or something?
Yeah,
Or-
sure. You guys can get advantage. It's Fulton stays behind. Oh, that's not so hot. Desira, are you doing the same here?
I'm kind of just looking between this slippery bowling alley now and the collapsing roof, and just wondering which one's better at this stage.
You just embrace the roof.
I just take me now. I'll slide. I'll slip and slide.
Yeah.
Dexterity saving throw.
Give her a little bit of help as well.
That's no.
You guys have never played gnome bowling before, have you?
Clearly they're rookies.
Apparently not.
We wanted to run.
Get some
butter
culture.
everywhere.
Get some culture. Okay.
So even as Fulton does this, Fulton, roll me a dexterity saving throw.
So on my 23, as I look around the
Yeah.
upper platform, do I see anything else?
Let us see if you see anything else, my friend. You will see that there is a small painting set in the alcove of the pedestal itself of a man and a crocodile. It resembles very much the same artistic direction and style as the shrine itself.
Is it like painted on the wall, or is it like an actual painting on the wall?
It's an actual painting which is set within the pedestal, which seems to have revealed itself now that the jug has moved off.
I mean, can I take it, or is it
you
like?
could grab it, definitely.
So yeah, I guess I'll grab it.
All right, and roll me that dexterity saving throw.
Dexterity saving throw.
All right, so
I've killed everyone.
Reverie, Desira, and Fulton will get to the 30 feet down the tunnel where Bartleby has landed, but I will take 10 damage as they slip and slide down there.
I am not looking too hot.
Can we just land on top of him, please?
Bartleby just there. Ladies.
Yeah, sliding in front of
Can
us.
I slide the other way? Can I slide?
Slide upwards, defying all gravity.
man.
Can I slide down towards him? I see him do that. I'm just like, no.
You turn around and slide back the other way. I love it. So the group of you find yourselves 30 feet down the end of the tunnel, rubble collapsing all the way around you. You can see the exit is in sight.
Let's go to it, please.
Yeah, I think it's one way or the other. It's dexterity to get out of here. So
Unless you
we
got
have to
any other
move.
creative uses of.
I swear to God, if anybody tries to spill any butter, grease, margarine, I can't believe it's not butter. I don't care what it is. Do not lube up anything.
I usually like a nice olive oil, and this just. Yeah, I run at this point.
Yeah, preheat.
So
Me too.
Bartleby
run.
preheats the oven to the tunnel to 180. Puts on. I love it. All right, dexterity saving throws from the group of you as you try to escape the
This is going
shrine.
to.
No!
22.
5 for Fulton.
Fucking that one!
Our rogue is the worst rogue.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So these rolls are just going through for me on roll 20. It's a 7 from Bert, a 22 from Desira, a 5 from Fulton, and yes, and that one for Reverie again. So, those of you who failed, who is everyone except from Desira, you'll be hit by rubble for an additional 13 points of damage.
Oh my gosh.
That would have downed me.
Wow.
Quick question. Can I shield against any of that? I presume not.
Read me what shield says. I think it might be an attack roll, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Cool.
yeah, you won't get a chance.
I will, in which case, yeah, I'll take it like a chump.
Yep. So, the group of you do manage to escape the collapsing rubble. However, Reverie and Fulton and Bartleby are hit by pummeled by rubble as they escape this collapsing shrine. And by the time that you guys escape back into Camp Righteous itself, the whole shrine is collapsing down behind you with this huge roaring rumble. And as a group of you come to look outside once more into the well, I'd say the fresh air of Chult, but it's not particularly fresh out here. You spot that there are little figures down by the shore with your canoes. No. They would appear to be goblinoid, and there are 4 of them. And they are yipping away with your canoes at the moment. They're currently trying to untether them and get them onto the water. You guys are, let me check, 80 feet away at current.
Oh no.
They are goblinoid.
Would I recognize what these are?
These are goblins.
Just like typical goblins, or are they like any like?
I mean, the goblins here are a little bit different than they are in Faerun, so they're a little bit more tribal. These guys wear masks, and they have these little kind of spears with them. They're usually adorned with necklaces and all sorts of kind of tribal wooden jewelry that they wear. Sometimes they will like ride on one another's backs to get around in these kind of like leaning tower of pieces of goblins. Currently, they are trying to organize themselves to get these canoes untethered, but it seems like they're not very familiar with how boats work.
Are they alive?
Oh, these guys are definitely alive.
I want to try something.
Not the goblins.
This is crazy. So, Fulton sees the situation, sees the condition that the rest of his party is in, and draws upon the nature around him and his ability to sort of camouflage himself. And I'm going to use my Froebog magic to cast Disguise Self, which normally is to help me fit in with other humans. But being a 8-foot tall Froebog, and I can make myself look 1 foot taller.
Yes.
I make myself look even 1 foot taller and make myself look like an undead giant zombie and start screaming and running toward them, thinking that, knowing the dangers of Chult, that this is going to scare the bejesus out of them, hopefully, and get them away from our canoes without combat.
I like that a lot. Roll me an intimidation check as you approach the group.
With the disguise, can I have advantage, please?
Yeah, I'll give you advantage on this one as these little goblins kind of with their little spears turn around to see this gigantic creature lumbering towards them.
Come on. An 18. An 18.
With advantage.
With advantage, an 18.
Ladies and gentlemen. Holy mackerel. So that is probably just as well. I gave you advantage on that one, as the description was awesome. As you stumble towards them, this huge lumbering undead abomination, the little goblins kind of turn as they're struggling with the ropes and the canoes, and with they abandon the canoes and stumble off into the forest, running away from you. I'm guessing that you're not going to follow them at this point, as you guys are, as a group, fairly wounded. But the goblins just kind of off into the jungles, running away as fast as they possibly can, fearing for their lives as Fulton comes towards them. You guys find yourselves back in Camp Righteous with seeming amount of peace.
I'm going to sleep.
Those creatures are disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, party-wise, just talking about, I assume we're going to take, do we feel a sense of urge? Well, we do know that we had like over 100 undead less than a mile away.
Right.
Fulton goes, I know we'd like to rest and to take some time, but I believe we should get back out on the water, but not in this condition. There's a ceremony that I know from my people. It takes 10 minutes, but it could restore most of us back to some semblance of health once again.
That would be good, but do not be too fooled. There is nowhere in these jungles that is safe. This is perhaps the safest we will get for a long time.
I have an idea. If we're looking for somewhere else, perhaps we should have someone scout the area.
Reverie, is is almost like unconscious. Like she's like woozy, and she's like, maybe let's not listen to your ideas.
Oh, I wasn't suggesting any of us. Don't worry about that. I have a backup.
Miles isn't here.
Oh no, Miles was the backup of the backup.
Reverie is like about to fall over. Like,
No, wait. And he reaches into his sleeve and he pulls out a small raven, which hops along. This, guys, is the Find Familiar spell, which is like my favorite spell of all time ever in the history of wizardry. It's the best. So do let you guys know what this does for you guys, wonderful people in chat. Basically, it creates like you gain the service of a familiar, a spirit that can take animal form you choose, and it gives you some suggestions like a bat, a crab, frog, fish, quipper, rat, anything you fancy, really. That's like a small creature. But Raven is one of them. It appears in an unoccupied space within range, and the familiar has the statistics of the chosen form, so it's not great for combat. However, the cool thing about it is you can communicate telepathically through it, you can cast touch spells through it, and you can also use, you can go blind and deaf yourself to your own senses, but view stuff through its vision. So I'm going to this is Reginald the Raven. It's bird Bartleby, Reginald the Raven. It's quiet, Reginald, you're embarrassing me. And he's just going to do a quick fly around and see if there's any other areas in any place around here we could possibly camp up, that or see if there were any sort of massive army marching on us. So shoot. Go.
So Reginald swoops up into the skies above Camp Righteous, and as Bartleby's vision turns into that of the creatures, roll me a perception check here, Bartleby. And if your owl has any advantages, your raven has any advantages.
It does indeed. It
roll via that perception.
It gives me advantage on the perception check. So. Nice. Because eyes of a raven. Here we go.
Aha!
Wonderful.
You look
These
out
rolls.
and you see jungle, and no creatures, as far as you can see. I mean, there's the occasional, dinosaur that's moving through the brush, like half a mile out. It looks like a, one of those kind of plant eater, large creatures that doesn't really have any interest in yourself. And Reginald kind of swoops back, returning in, and you're fairly confident in the idea that there's, nothing nearby.
Do we think we could take the hour to rest naturally, or should we hurry it along with the ceremony?
I was thinking a good 8-hour nap, like a good kip, maybe some breakfast.
Reverie walks, kind of stumbles her way over to Fulton, and by the time she gets there, just falls. Please catch her.
Yeah, no, Fulton will catch her. No, I mean, I guess it's all about. I mean, are we thinking long rest here?
I have 6 hit points left, and I am almost
at a I have 6 out of a possible 42. It's not going
because we can.
Well.
I mean, if we wanted to do short rest, I guess is the question. But if we're thinking long rest, is this a defensible location? Is there a wall? I know this was a camp, right?
Camp Righteous does not have a wall around it. That's hence why the Paladins fled. There are tents that you could stay in that would provide some shelter from anyone seeing you directly. The shore is nearby. The other option could be that you guys get on the canoes and take a long rest while you're on the boats.
The military-minded individuals, this is out of character because Bert's all about staying here right now, but the military-minded paladins who are actually good at combat and probably a lot better than we are decided to abandon this position because they couldn't hold it.
Yeah,
I will probably die here, but I need to sleep.
Yeah, Fulton, well, what I'm thinking is, either we short rest if we think we've got an hour, or I do prayer of healing, which is going to be 2d8 plus 4 healing for everybody, which could get us to a point to get out in the canoes so that if we do for some reason get ambushed, I think that we get on the water just because we know there's undead hundreds of undead skeletons and stuff. And that big thing falling just made a whole lot of noise.
Okay, that's a fair point. I have two second level spell slots, one first level spell slot, so we can do this if I get some hit die.
So it sounds like prayer.
So we're thinking prayer of healing, or are we thinking short rest?
Prayer of healing.
Prayer of healing.
Okay, so I'll cast prayer of healing.
And then if we have a little kip on the canoe, who's gonna blame us?
Right.
A little snooze.
So that's going to be for 16 points of healing.
Nice.
And Fulton, basically, he gathers the party around and kind of gets this really deep, resonant hum. And you see his skin, sort of this mottled color of his skin that goes from the light green to the dark coffee brown as he goes in and out of shadow. You see it's actually sort of like pulsing across him, and sort of these just waves of sort of comfort and it's like being in a spa. It smells nice. This relaxation sort of drifts over top of you, and you feel your wounds knitting and yourself calming down and feeling refreshed and restored. It takes about 10 minutes, and it just sort of brings peace and tranquility to everyone as this spell sort of goes through you.
Very nice. So the group of you find yourselves 10 minutes later. Nothing else has seemed to entered into the camp by this point, and you have your canoes, and you know that reminder for the current kind of quest that you guys were on, that you know that there's a Camp Vengeance a couple of days travel further south on a river where the Paladins have ended up. So at this point, it is about 6 to 7 p.m. in the afternoon to the evening. So it's starting to get dark.
So
I mean,
get on.
how long have we been traveling on the boats for? How long towards Camp Vengeance?
It's going to take. You've been 5 days to get to here, and
No,
it's going
but
to
I'm
take
saying
an
from
additional
our
3
prayer of
days.
healing, is it almost dark by the time we get on the water, or have we been on the water for an hour or two?
By the time that you finish your prayer of healing, you're still at Camp Righteous. You guys haven't gotten on the boats. It's 6 to 7 p.m.
Ooh.
Okay. You have the light spell.
I do.
That's fine. We'll just light up our flimsy canoes and paddle down this river.
I know. Yeah. Same thought.
It
We'll be
is
fine.
no
I still
safer
think
on
on
the
the
canoes
water
than
is
it
going to
is
be.
here.
Yeah.
We take a risk wherever we go. If we go now.
Let's get on the water, and we'll, just as we'd have to take shifts while we were. Oh, wait a second. Weren't there rowboats? Is there a bigger rowboat that all 4 of us could be in?
I don't believe so. When you guys arrived, I think you're the only ones.
I thought it was just docks. It wasn't that there was a rowboat.
There was
Yeah,
a
there was,
crashed one that was like. Just
Oh, that was
super
right.
not
Yeah,
okay.
there is. Yeah, there's nothing which is usable here for you guys.
Okay, so we will have to take shifts just as we would if we were camping on ground, but to keep moving, I think, is our best bet.
I'll take one of the later watches when it gets darker. I can see in the dark.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I'm the only person who can't, right?
So you take first watch.
Good night.
All right. So you
We all
guys.
go to sleep. Yes.
Yep.
We all no negotiation or anything. Everyone just falls.
Yeah. So I'll tie the canoes together, and I figure I'm strong enough to paddle both.
Yep.
And I start heading upriver, correct? Is towards Camp Vengeance
You're going. Yep.
from the map. Yeah.
Yep.
Do I need to do a survival?
Yep. You can roll me a survival check as you are headed out as it gets later onto the river, heading along the Southern Star.
No pressure. Just all of our lives.
22. Fulton
22.
is cool and calm. It's like he's out in nature. He's just having a nice sunset. A nice sunset row in the canoe. I was going to say something different.
So yeah, so you guys head out onto the canoes, and with Fulton watching over you, guiding your way, paddling both canoes, you guys will get the chance to take a long rest. And we'll take this for a couple of watches having passed. I'm assuming that Fulton wouldn't set for the full 6 to 8 hours, but as a group of you head out through the rest of the night, you find yourselves the next morning further down the river once again. And Azira, you feel rested once more. You are the guide of the party here, and we can cross off one more set of rations for the party. So I believe you're left on 5 now, if my own calculations are correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so you have 5 days provisions, and you've got a good 2.5 to 3 day journey to make down to the Camp Vengeance. Supposedly, I mean, you guys don't have a map to this place, so you just are going by what Commander Breakbone wrote in his diary. So Dazira, on the next day of your journey, could you please roll me a survival check as you're headed down here?
I would love to. So much.
I'm sure you would.
That is a 19.
Very nice.
Nice.
On this day of travel through the river, you will begin to see around you that there are larger dinosaurs the further into the interior of Cholt that you're going. You are now spotting the telltale signs of apex predators that are in the area. Dazira, you will see these large piles of dung which these creatures leave behind. And it's likely that you would jump out to take a look at these to identify what kind of animals are in the area, being the local to Cholt. And via figuring out what this thing ate, Jurassic Park style, you can guarantee that there are these apex predators that you'd know to be Allosaurus within the area. You also see the big footprints of them. This seems to be their prime hunting grounds that you are entering into. You'll also begin to see larger vegetable-eating dinosaurs in the area, which they hunt upon as well. These animals which have these large spines on their backs and these big club-like tails for which to defend themselves, as well as these smaller, more... they look like the little raptors that you saw in Port Nyanzaru, but they're much, much smaller, and they only eat upon the little ferns in the area with their little kind of teeth. But these would be prime, prey for the apex predators that are definitely within this area. And that the hunting grounds of these creatures aren't like, oh, we're 10 minutes and now we're out of their zone. These creatures would have hunting grounds for miles upon miles, which they will mark their territory with. And you'd be able to identify that, being a guide from the area, by, the tracks that they leave behind. They will mark their territory if you're in, so you'll be able to smell that upon some trees and the like. So that is your next day down the Sozen Star. Would you roll me a second survival check, please?
I will.
Yes, Lenoposaurus.
That's a 16.
16 is pretty good. You are getting into, on the next day of travel, cross off another bit of rations here. And again, this is mostly description as you're headed down the river. You aren't actually running into too much down here. You're out of fire new territory. You're still deep within the Allosaurus hunting grounds, and you have begun to see the tracks of humans. Heading down the river, you will see where a band of heavily plated and armored humans have traveled through the area, which means that you're on the right ground. You follow these tracks further down several of the river bends and turns within the Sozen Star to get to Camp Vengeance on the 3rd day. And you will see this before you as you arrive at Camp Vengeance. In fact, one of the first things that you will smell is the smell of smoke burning, wood burning, and it's one of the first fires that you guys have had in a couple of days here. And you can smell that there are meats roasting upon a campfire. As you turn the corner and through the foliage, you'll see a crude timber fortification, a walled compound with watchtowers and tents inside it, encircled by a ditch bristling with sharpened stakes. A large gatehouse faces the river, on the shore of which are 4 rowboats tied to a wooden post. Scattered around the fort are piles of charred human corpses and flayed animal carcasses swarming with flies. The second smell to assault your senses as you arrive at Camp Vengeance, which is the biggest fortification that you've seen since Port Nyanzaru, which you'd definitely be able to tell would be able to hold several hundred people within here. There are the smells of disease. These rotten animal carcasses and flayed carcasses which are left outside, perhaps as a warning, perhaps as some kind of... in fact, Azira might be able to pick up on this one. They may put these out here to dissuade large animals from entering the area. Dinosaurs have a very keen sense of smell, and if they'd sense disease, it may be that they'd wish to stay away from that area because they can smell it so well. But you do see several humans manning the walls of this encampment, and you can tell by the sounds of things, the general hubbub coming from the Camp Vengeance, that there may be 50 to 100 people within here at any given time. One of them spots you as you're coming down the river and says, "Ship ho! People coming down the river!" And as you draw closer, they kind of call down from you from above the walls. And one of them kind of calls down and says, "Who goes there?"
We are just a traveling party. We are making our way through.
And he says, "What is your business within Camp Vengeance?"
Meta question quickly. What did
Yes.
the papers say?
The paper said that the Paladins had abandoned Camp Righteous because there were too many attacks from the undead and other creatures, and that they had moved to the stronger ground at Camp Vengeance. You guys also want to know how to fight the undead, where the undead are, and everything about this necromantic device that Syndra Sylvain has talked about, the Death Curse.
We have come from Camp Righteous. We need to make our way here.
He calls down and says, "Commander Breakbone will speak with you. Tie your boats off at the docks there by our rowboats." And presuming you guys do that, you are greeted by a welcoming party of 10 guards who are all wearing this quite ornate plate armor. And you can tell that these guys are, most likely paladins. There may be a few clerics among their order as well that Fulton would be able to identify. But this greeting party come out of these high palisade stake gates and greet you. Leading them is who you'd presume to be Commander Breakbone. He is a Chondothan human with dark skin and a heavy set kind of body, I suppose. It looks like he's pretty well built. His face looks haggard and tired, and he looks fairly weary to see the group of you. They close the gates behind you as you guys are upon the docks still. Several of the guards above watching you. And Commander Breakbone looks at the group of you and says, "So you're from Camp Righteous, then? Or was it you found there that brought you here?"
Exactly that. We found nothing. Nothing but death and more death. Undead surround the area as they surround all areas. There was nothing there but a simple note.
He looks over towards your boats and says, "What supplies do you bring with you? How many days' worth of rations and water did you bring for us?"
We have barely enough to sustain ourselves. We have about 4 days left of rations.
4 days worth. 4 days worth of rations. Don't you know my men are dying in here from disease? We're cut off from the supplies. I tell you what, you came up from Port Nyanzaru.
Indeed.
Come inside with me. And looking to have made some kind of connection within his own mind, but not yet having revealed it to the group of you. The gates part before you, and you enter into the tented camp of Camp Vengeance. This high-staked, medium rare stakes are how they do them around here, by the looks of things. But a couple of them are getting sent back as being a little bit too rare, But you see this large command tent is the first part of the camplet you would see. Looks like Commander Breakbone and men have well guarded that area. There are tents of the regular guards around here, and again you'd be able to spot there's a good 80 to 100 people around here now that you can see inside. The other thing that you'd notice is that the latrines, very much like they were in Camp Righteous, are just a pit, but it rains a lot in Chult, and this pit is pretty gnarly at this point. Many of the soldiers would appear to be under the effects of some kind of disease, as they are coughing, spluttering, and retching. All of them look like they are underfed and underwatered. Most of them would look like they're, at the very least, very dehydrated. They stand out in the Cholton heat in full plate armor. There's a reason why the locals of this area won't wear like a whole lot of chain and a whole lot of armor, because it's going to exhaust you incredibly quickly in their high heats. of Cholt. But these guys seem to be going at it no matter what, and they all look very tired and haggard for that reason. And as you enter into this camp, Commander Breakbone gestures around him. He says, "My men are falling sick. We need medical supplies, water, food. Fresh water is hard to find just deep into the interior, so, well," he leads you inside his command tent. There are no chairs in here for anyone to sit down on, but there is a table with a map of Cholt laid out around it, and says, "We only have several of these rowboats, and I can't afford to lose any more men. The attacks of these creatures have been more virulent and aggressive each day. They sense that we are weakening. I need you to go back to Port Nyanzaru and bring back as many supplies as possible."
Zira will turn to her companions. "I know our journey does not take us back that way, but look around you. Look at what this is doing to people. Diseases in Cholt are not like diseases from where you come from. They are so much worse in so many ways."
"I think I know what the diseases are like here, thank you very much."
"I was not talking to you."
He does not take well to that tone. And you see his, eyebrow raise and his visage darken even more.
Commander Breakbone, perhaps I can be of assistance.
Perhaps you can. What do you have in mind?
I can create water for you and for your troops. And while I understand and see that the carcasses are spoiled, that you have hung around here, and perhaps for good reason, whatever we could harvest that is still edible, I can purify it for your use.
He looks kind of wide-eyed, but slightly distrustful of this deal. Perhaps it seems a little bit too good to be true for him.
Are there any barrels, empty barrels or anything around?
Yeah, definitely. You could, grab one outside. There is kind of empty, well, not empty, they're filled but stagnant water. It's just standing still, and it's not any way to keep it.
So the stagnant water,
Yeah.
Well, actually, because I want to prove a point at this point, because knowing we were traveling and that we were doing this over the course of our couple days, I did switch to create and destroy water because I wasn't sure whether we were going to make it to camp with rations. So I am going to find an empty container for up to 10 gallons, and I will cast create water as a just as a first level spell at this point, which lets me do 10 gallons. And then I will also, just to prove my point of, I can create water in a limited supply, but with time, I can purify as much as you need. And as he motions with his hand, it's almost like a small spring sprouts out of the air that starts to fill this empty barrel. And he then walks over it. It's a ritual, so it's going to take 10 minutes to do the purification piece. But hopefully if I show him that I can at least create the water, I'll say, bring me whatever water, no matter how stagnant. And with ritualizing, I can do purify food and drink.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one other quick note before he reacts to that. Would anyone have taken the time to look at the jug? Because that's something that I myself forgot to ask you guys.
Yes, I would have been studying it I managed to steal a jug.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so during the course of your canoe adventure along here, you have managed to identify that this is an alchemy jug. So basically, the ceramic jug appears to hold a gallon of liquid and weighs 12 pounds, whether full or empty. Sloshing sounds can be heard from within the jug when it's shaken, even if it's empty. You can use an action and name one liquid from the table below to cause the jug to produce the chosen liquid. Up to 2 gallons per minute. You can choose acid, basic poison, beer, honey, mayonnaise, oil, vinegar, fresh water, salt water, or wine. And I'll list you this table there. It may very well be that Bartleby's been keeping this to himself for a little while. Or he just hasn't seen fit to tell the rest of the group because he's
been getting snockered as I've been rowing.
I love how mayonnaise is an option.
You can produce 2 gallons of mayonnaise. That is the maximum amount. Yeah, that's, I'm sure, the business that Bartleby goes into. But yeah, for the... oh my good lord, I gotta cough. The group of you watch as Commander Breakbone is kind of stunned in amazement, and his mood lightens a great deal towards Fulton and the group. He says, you are just what we have needed, my friends. This is truly a great miracle that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you. Thank you. Me and the rest of the Paladins are in great debt to you all.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. We may need your aid in the future, but if there's anything we can do to fortify your position here, there's no use in dead friends.
Right.
Where exactly is your infirmary?
The tents out there, and he kind of points to a long line of these tents where people are coughing and spluttering. That's where most of the afflicted are. They have a variety of diseases, either from the heat, which has just gone to their brains and they've gone mad with monkey madness, or they have throat leeches.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
So I absolutely know nothing about any of those things or much about medicine at all, but I can help with some basic stuff. And he will sort of wander into the infirmary, and considering the abysmal conditions they're living in, I'm presuming that there are no clean like dressings, rags, anything like that.
Correct.
And stuff like so. He's going to do a couple of things. First of all, he's going to find someone to give him a big sort of barrel, and he's going to fill the barrel after testing it to see if it burns through with acid. And he will explain, look, I don't actually know anything about medicine and stuff, but if they have necrotic, rotting flesh that starts to sprout out upon their skin, well, you might want to stop it from spreading, in which case I recommend cauterizing it with acid. There you are, and just pours in a load of acid, 8 ounces of acid. There you are. And also he goes around and he cleans the entire place with prestidigitation, just going around and just he cleans the whole, everyone's like dressings, everything at all, and just and then just sort of, I can't do too much, but if there's anything we can do to help you fight the good fight, we'll do what we can.
Commander Breakbone will thank you and says, the Order of the Gauntlet, we thank you a lot. This has been very helpful, yes. Not sure what you can do about the diseases themselves, but hopefully the fresh water and food will do some good at the very least. When we got here, we really didn't know how bad things could get within the interior.
So, quick question, Will. You were saying just because, I mean, I'm sure there's actual disease, but are there some people who just have like food poisoning and things like that? Because while I can't cure disease, I can do protection from poison, which would help to get anyone who's just poisoned as well. So basically I'll use, I'm going to assume we're going to stay the night or at least do another long rest. I'll use basically all my spell slots to make as much food. I'll try to stick to purification just because that's a ritual and doesn't burn stuff if as I can. But then also ritually go out and detect poison for people who have poison compared to disease. I can do that ritually as well. And then for anyone who's just poisoned, we'll do protection for poison. And I don't think there's anything my Lesser Restoration is going to work on, because that's, oh no, it does do disease. Lesser Restoration does a disease. I thought it was condition. So no, I don't know if these are Lesser Restoration diseases, but I can give a try for non-Shulton, awful, dead, plague, horribleness stuff.
Yeah. Okay. You'll go around the camp. Go ahead. Question?
Can I say, can I try to do Reverie's hand while we were out on the canoes to see if the Lesser Restoration will take away her hands thing? I don't know if it will.
It does not.
Okay, I figured it didn't, but I just
Worth a try.
Hey, lesser restoration, everyone would have been fine with this whole cholt thing, guys.
Right?
Thinking of me.
They just would have tried lesser restoration. Anyway.
So yeah, you'll go around the camp and you'll help as many people as you can, trying to help their the diseases. They have a mixture of mad monkey fever and throat leeches, which are basically minuscule parasites which embed themselves into the throats of the afflicted, and it's usually gained by drinking bad water. If you were to just like scoop up some water from that river and drink it, guaranteed you'd probably get some throat leeches embedding within your throat, and they slowly eat away, causing inflammation, short of breath, and eventually they will be able to suffocate you entirely or just eat away your neck. And they can't be like shifted by drinking. You try and like get, it's like having like phlegm or something like that, but like super resilient to getting rid of water, right? So you'll be able to cure several of the paladins of this. It's not going to be enough to cure every person in the camp. There's a lot of them, a mixture of diseases, dehydration, food poisoning, and the like, and you guys are only a group of 4, but you do your best to help out and ingratiate yourself with the Order of the Gauntlet at night. But by the time night falls, the group of you will have been helping out the camp vengeance a fair amount, and they feel generally the mood in the camp is a lot better now that you guys have arrived. Commander Breakbone will thank you a great deal, and will tell you that if there's anything that he can help you with, then he will do his best to. Let's call this round the campfire. Night is fallen. Commander Breakbone will meet you outside his tent and say, "Well, you've done a great deal of work here. I thank you a lot. Most of my order are just regular guards and soldiers, and, well, there are about 3 of us that have any kind of magical power around here, and it seems as though our gods are not speaking to us so much now that we're in Cholt. We've done what we can, but, well, is there anything I can help you with?"
I would hate to ask. Your men have been through so much, but we do come here with a great purpose. You see, I have an accomplice, a friend, a partner in crime. Not all legitimate, I assure you, but her name is Sindra Sylvain. I'm not sure if you would have heard of her, but
there's not a look of recognition in his eyes.
Yeah, essentially, she has fallen ill, as has most of the Sword Coast, with a plague unlike anything we've ever seen. Something that, it undoes the good work of the gods. So people who have been brought back from death itself have been restored, had their bodies remade in their gods' images. Well, their skin and flesh has become infected and they slowly wither. We believe that soon it will claim all of them. And it's all to do with an artifact that has recently been activated here in Cholt. There's something here called a soulmonger.
He nods slowly and says, "Yes, that is one of the reasons that my order was sent here in the first place, to combat this foul evil. However, we've had less success than we would have liked. Camp Righteous was attacked daily by the undead and large dinosaurs, which would attack and take some of our best away. Then on top of that, the disease and the lack of commune with our gods has made it difficult for us. We've managed to establish Camp Vengeance here for the past weeks, but on being unable to get fresh food, supplies, and water has made it difficult for us. There are a few things that we know, however." He begins to walk the exterior of the walls with you as you look out into the Cholton jungle at night, passing by several of his men and women who are on guard duty. And he says, "The undead are in such high number here. The deeper into Cholt you go, the closer to the source of the soulmonger you'll get. That much we are sure of. We've managed to send out several expeditions into the interior, though some have been more successful than others." he looks towards the south and kind of points out in that direction and says, there are strange creatures known as the Grung, which live in that area there. They are a pernicious and thieving group who have ever sought to destroy our bands that enter into that area. They poison us with strange toxins and venoms. The closer we get to their edifices, even though we only want to find the source of the undead. The problem is they don't speak our language and we don't speak theirs, so communication is at an all-time low. We wish to work with them against a common enemy. However, every time we turn up there upon their grounds, they attack us and, well, we're left with no choice but to defend ourselves. And then he points towards the kind of southwest and says, the further that way we go, the larger the dinosaurs we run into. It seems like the breeding grounds of the Allosaurus and the T-Rex. Those creatures will tear apart one of my men in a heartbeat, and whole bands of them have gone missing or never returned. Although, if you were to head in that direction to find some of my fallen companions, I would be, well, in your debt once again, and I could pay you handsomely for their sigils that are holy to our order. And then he points out to the kind of southeast and says, in that direction there is a large edifice of stone and fire which burns. We've yet to approach it, but we know that the undead are in number in that area. My bands have not been able to get through the thick jungles and the creatures which lay in that area. And we suspect that the Grung will know more. It's simply that we cannot speak with them. That would be our main goal. Speak with the Grung, learn what they know, and make friends with them. They have been here far longer than we have, and have local knowledge of the area. They seem to be able to traverse it like they were, a blind monk. They have strange senses.
We can absolutely help with that. That's no problem at all. I have spent many a year being a diplomat. Talking to people is something of a speciality of mine, as is making friends. I mean, I've barely known this lot 10 days, and already we're firm friends. So
right.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Well, do you speak their tongue?
Well, that's depends entirely on one simple question that I do need to pose to you.
Right.
It's a small one. What is a Grung? Never heard of them before.
They are strange little short frog-like people.
Hold on. By short, how?
About the size of you, maybe.
Oh.
Maybe a little
They
taller.
want to communicate with you. Maybe they'll think you're one of their own.
I can actually talk to small woodland animals. No, that's my brother who can do that. Right. Well, in which case, we can try, I suppose.
The Grung will likely answer to one thing above all, and that is food and supplies. They need it just as much as we do.
What
And
do
it
they
helps
eat?
that you're sort of covered in slime still. Maybe they'll find that relatable.
Well, they seem resilient to the diseases and toxins in the area. It may be that they're naturally resilient, or perhaps they have some kind of cure.
That could be quite useful, and I would be very interested in to see how these small creatures have found their place within the cycles of life and death that pervade this area.
How many do they number, and what sort of civilization do they have?
Whenever they attack us, they are at least 10 strong. They are knowledgeable enough. It seems like they scout us out to know to outnumber us. So if we bring 10, they bring 20, and so on and so forth. They will attack us in an ambush in the trees and the plants, meaning that we will retreat before we murder too many of their number. But their edifice itself, why, we have never penetrated far through enough to reach what I have been told is their city, which is named Dung Grung Lung. Yes, I know.
Would I have heard much about Dung Rung Lung?
Let's see. Roll me a history check to know how much you know about Dung Grung Lung.
Oh, I know so much about Dung Rung Lung.
Can I just choose to know? Because I want to. I want to know all about it.
That's a 12?
A 12 on your Dung Grung longitude. You've
Do
definitely.
I have any proficiency in Dung Rung Lung?
No, you don't have any proficiency in Dung Lung longitude. Your Dung Grung Lom. Fuck me. Oh man, I don't even know how to say that word. Dung Grung Longometer is at an all-time low. You've definitely heard that there is a ancient city, Forlagrung, which is deep within the interior. You know that they are pretty secretive, and they are not particularly friendly to, large bands or paladins trampling through their forest. That's possibly one of the reasons why they don't like that. All of the different spellings of Dung Grung longitude in chat. I love it. So, that's pretty much what you know. You would also know that it's probably very well defended because they know the forest so well. So yeah, Breakbone gives you this information. It says, if you like, I can send a band of my men to show you as far as we've gotten so far. And then from there, you could take the lead.
That would be helpful, yes, especially if you've learned anything about special tactics or tricks regarding fighting the undead. Is something we're very unfamiliar with and haven't really done before. So is there anything that seems to work?
Anything holy burns their flesh away. They hate any symbols that are divine. Any kind of radiant magic as well works well against them. You must by now be aware of the death curse upon this land, which makes the resurrection of fallen companions even more of a trouble.
Reverie will extend her crusty hands. Be it seems I've had some appendages affected.
Yes. Deep scarring wounds are hard to knit back. We'll want to see to the end of the Soulmonger as soon as possible, and I think the Grung are the way to that. But it is late. I will allow you to take a rest, as I must as well. Let us hope that no creatures attack us this night. And
Very well. We
Commander
will be ready for them if they do come.
Commander
We will fight
Breakbone
with
is
you.
heading back to his command tent.
Bert just looks at the party and says, why did he have to say that? Because now I feel like it might happen.
It probably will. We are in Chult after all.
But you never say it. It's a terrible idea. You always just quietly think it to yourself. But no,
Very well. Okay, there was absolutely nothing that can
Oh
possibly
no,
go wrong tonight.
no, it's absolutely going to. I am. And he storms off to find somewhere to sleep.
Reverie looks at Desira and she's like, "You jinxed it." And then she goes back over to Bartleby and she's like, "Wait," because she feels like she has to calm him down.
I need a moment. I need a moment.
I need a day. Give me a day. All right.
And he will make sure he pours out wine for people this evening because I feel like these guys could probably use some wine.
Yeah.
And wine is good.
Libation,
So,
wine and mayonnaise are had aplenty by all tonight. As it's a Chultan delicacy.
leaves it on the side and it's like a dipping bowl. Anyone can just dip like all your food
It's like the feeding of 5,000, but just wine and
The
mayonnaise.
double dipping is real tonight as a whole band of soldiers go into this big sloppy messy pool of mayonnaise.
I feel so ill.
I love like there's people genuinely looking at that and then looking at like the putrid water in that pit and just thinking, I think I prefer that down
Right.
there.
Yeah, it does bear an unerring resemblance to the latrine pits tonight. As it begins to rain throughout the night. But we're going to go into our second tomb insight at this point. We're going to talk about magic items and gold and distributing that to our players. So we'll be back in just a few minutes with the rest of our players as we go to our secret DM cave. We'll see you guys again in a couple minutes' time. Goodbye. All right then. So those guys are clear. Let us talk a little bit about our second point of the day, about loot, rewarding players of loot, when to give it to them, how to give it to them, what's the best way to do all of this stuff. So let's talk about this. And if you guys have questions about magic items, file them in chat now so that by the time I finished my long rant, I'll I'll be able to see some of the questions. So let's talk about gold first of all. Gold in D&D. Gold is one of the things that I get asked about all the time. How much gold should I give a player? How much gold should I give a party? A common thing that I hear is, I've given my party way too much gold, at level 1 or whatever, and the Dragon's Horde, and now they've got every possible thing, every possible magic item that they could want. So for me, gold is one of the pieces of loot which perhaps holds less value, and is, in my opinion and experience, one of the things that is not going to, break your game. If you give your players loads of gold, don't worry about that too much. There's a couple of things that you could think about when it comes to distributing loot in terms of gold or gemstones or artwork or anything like that. So, first thing to think about would be, if you've given your players too much gold, or maybe not enough, consider how economies work, both in real life and, of course, therefore in Dungeons and Dragons. If they have so much gold that they're just going out and buying every single magic item out there, consider what wartime inflation does to prices. If it's wartime, the cost of a piece of bread or a loaf of bread might be 10 gold pieces when you're in a besieged city. Similarly, some items such as food may be seasonal, and so, if you're trying to buy, strawberries in winter or whatever, that's going to cost you more in a, ancient fantasy economy. So, same deal goes for, magic items, right? So, common question I hear is, I've broken the game, I've given my players too much gold, they've gone and bought all the magic items. Consider this: how common are magic items in your world? Does every single vendor and stall sender have just a bunch of magic items sitting at their table? In my games, they tend not to. Magic items tend to be these ancient artifacts that they might find in tombs, such as they have found the Alchemy Jug in the shrine earlier on, and aren't necessarily things which are readily available for purchase. Something that I like to do with magic items in particular is to use them as quest rewards, or just tie them into quests themselves. When it comes to magic items, I don't really like to just have them on stalls being sold to players a lot of the time. For me, that takes away some of the excitement of finding a magic item either out in the wild, which is a reason for you to explore, or having a quest tied to it. So maybe there is magic items that are being sold within the city of, Port Nyanzaru, but perhaps there is a shady, black market for them, and I have to go for a quest to purchase some of those magic items, or perhaps do someone a favor, which I always find more interesting for me, particularly thinking about when I get magic items in things like video games, right? So if I'm playing Skyrim, for instance, I find it much cooler that I get the whatever it is, the Dawnbreaker shield or whatever, at the end of that cool quest line, rather than just being able to buy it in a town. So that's how I like to apply magic item theory to games themselves. There is another way to do that, of course. If you want to do it a bit more by the book, I've got some tables to show you guys as well. Let's see this treasure table here. So, something that you can do, and this is on page 133 of the Dungeon Master's Guide that you can take a look at, is using individual treasure tables. So this helps you randomly determine when and what loot a random creature might be holding. There are also treasure hoards as well that you can use for, a dragon's hoard or a boss creature as well. These tables are really useful for quick bits of loot. You roll a D100 respective to the challenge rating of each creature that has been killed. Now, you may not want to do this for every single creature. A lot of the times with loot, I will hand wave it and say between the group of them you will find, 10 gold or 25 gold or whatever. I also personally tend to not worry too much about denominations of gold, but that's just a personal thing. Let me show you this one here. So this is the individual table per challenge rating there. I'll bring this real big over my face here. So this is challenge rating 0 to 4. You roll a D100. You see what you get on that, and that's a quick kind of cheat way of being able to tell what loot a creature may have in terms of gold. There are also magic item tables to roll upon. Looking at that same bit, it's like 137, I think, where the magic item tables begin. If you want to randomly roll upon those. I'm not a huge fan of rolling for magic items. There's a couple of reasons why. Let me get off these tables for a second, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in our third section about balancing the game. I like to be quite aware of what magic items exist within my world and why they exist. For instance, it may not make sense for in a certain location for there to be the boots of flying, for instance. If it's in an underground cavern, why are there necessarily boots of flying there? That doesn't make too much sense to me. I like to previously have a look at the table, decide on a couple of magic items that are on there, and they may show up throughout the course of the game. Something that a friend of mine does, who's been DMing a home game for a long time. He creates a kind of wish list of magic items that party members will have. This is a little bit more meta, and it's not something that I personally do, but it may be something that you, and particularly your players, enjoy, is to write down a Christmas wish list of magic items that they might find throughout the course of the campaign, just so that you have an idea of the kind of magic items that their characters might be interested in. This doesn't necessarily mean that they have to get the exact magic items on that list and in the order so they know what's going to happen, but say if they wrote down 5 to 10 magic item ideas that they'd be interested in, that can help you as a DM gauge what kind of items they will like. For me, magic items are about rewarding the players and saying, you know what, your character is going to be cooler and going to be able to do this cool new thing that they've been wanting to do. Maybe not every single time, right? But if you're giving the dwarf fighter, like a cloak of elven kind, and he's getting bonuses to stealth, but he's never going to use stealth, then that doesn't feel like it's particularly useful to the player. So I always like to make sure that I kind of game my magic items a little bit to be towards what the players are looking for and towards what they might be interested in. For instance, the Alchemy Jug, this one's in the Tomb of Annihilation, but it fits so perfectly into the campaign, being able to create, fresh water and, of course, mayonnaise, which is incredibly important at all times. Is useful to the campaign, and it isn't just a magic item that they have on their character sheet that they're going to forget about. As a player, when I have magic items that I forget about, it means that they're not interesting for my character or they're not useful, right? For instance, a dwarven fighter of a cloak of elven kind maybe isn't something that the character would use because he's not doing any stealth rolls, he's in plate armor and whatnot. So consider those couple of things when you're distributing magic items. Use the tables here and here if you want to. Take a look at the rest of the tables for magic items as well. Consider asking your players, even if you don't necessarily write down that wish list, a couple of magic items that they might be interested in over the course of the campaign, and kind of tailor that towards them, because ultimately it's about the players having fun, about their characters doing cool stuff, and I think that adds that level of enjoyment for rewards, which is why we play Dungeons & Dragons, aside from just leveling up in terms of power. Bear in mind as well, magic items don't have to be all +3 longswords. I love magic items which are about stories and quests, and which maybe require a quest to be found. So often a cool magic item with a story behind it, with a little bit of background and information about it, maybe a quest involved with it. That will entice a player a lot more and give them more of a feeling of connection towards it than finding a +3 longsword on the goblin boss, which is still valid, but I think this adds an extra level of intensity and fun to your games. We are next going to talk about how to keep our games balanced with all this treasure and all this level ups that we're going to be giving them. And let me go look at the chat, see what you guys are saying. You're exploring a volcano cave, you find a cloak of the manta ray, yeah. That is a very good question, Morgan Raff. Morgan Raff asks, do the players even have the opportunity to spend gold during this campaign with the time constraints and distance to town? A lot of the time, no, right? A lot of the time in campaigns, gold doesn't even have a huge amount of value because they don't even go to towns all the time. Particularly in a game like Tomb of Annihilation, there's not a whole lot of let's go back to base camp and buy items and go out again. In your campaign, there might be. It might be that they head out from Neverwinter, they go on a little quest, they come back, they buy items and so on and so forth. And that can be a good formula for your game. But in a high tense kind of situation like you're in Chult, it's not as though gold is really worth anything. As we've seen in this scene previously, the real value is in fresh water and supplies and information, being able to track creatures, knowing the locals. So, if you give them 10,000 gold, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've broken your game, because what are they going to spend it on? And again, consider constricting your markets. Maybe there isn't that, magic carpet which is on sale as it would be, if you went just from the player's handbook or the DMG, for instance. Would the gold in Chult have a different mint image on? That's a really good question, Mel. I hadn't thought about that, but of course it would. These people are from a different place, right? So if you go to a different country, you have a different minting. I've got US dollars here, and I think there's a UK £5 note. And of course, that's different. So that makes sense that would be the same in Chult. So yeah, have fun with that as well. Why not describe that? Maybe it's an image of a grung, maybe it's an image of a Chultan merchant prince, for instance. Yeah, have fun with your different coinages. Gold is really useful as a conductor for electronics. Very true. Good use of that. All right, let's go back and let's chat with our players and see what is going on with them. All right, we're back over here with these guys in Camp Vengeance once more, having spoken to Commander Breakbone. It's nightfall, and everybody's jinxed it that they're going to get attacked tonight. So, tell me what you guys are up to tonight in Camp Vengeance. It's pretty about midnight at this point. Have I unmuted you guys? No, there you go. Jump right in.
So, Fulton, he's probably trying to figure out how to prepare for what's to come. I'm assuming that, do we need to talk about the grung? Or actually, I guess that's what it sounds as though the path, the most successful way for us to journey is going to be to go try to somehow befriend these grung. I am trying to prepare myself for what might be the appropriate boons from my god for such a mission.
Well, I don't think that any sort of intimidation or scare factor is what we need to go for. I think we genuinely need to approach them with kindness, because obviously these armies have come in and tried to hurt them, and they've outsmarted them and really got them on the verge of death. So definitely don't follow their approach.
No, though I am not looking forward to this meeting, I have to say. I have had many an experience of the grung in the past. They can be difficult creatures to deal with. As I mentioned, they hold food and supplies such as that above all else. Treasure, perhaps, not that we have much of that either.
We could go in, again, as much as we did here. Either I do not want to steal or take any of the rations that we have purified here, but perhaps we could, if we find a beast that we could slay, that I could then purify for them along with as much water as possible. We could bring it as an offering. But communication is still a problem. My little friend, looking over to Bartleby, do you have magic means to help ease communications with these strange ones?
Not really, no. I can understand a few languages, but I don't think that
Get some of those fruit leeches there, till school. Go and look out. I don't think you have anything which allows you to speak to other comprehend languages, right?
No, I don't. But what I do have is detect thoughts, which it doesn't necessarily say that it will translate the language, but if I can detect their thoughts, I can see if they immediately are thinking of like killing us, or if they're hungry, or if they want something. That could help. But other than that, like, this is going to be... But he says, well, with regards to bringing down one of those beasts, I could be of assistance there.
Well, or perhaps helping them in a hunt or something. Knowing their thoughts certainly would be useful.
It is perhaps the best we have. I say we go with that.
And maybe, perhaps there will be one that can somewhat understand, and we can befriend that one, and it can help us sort of get the message across. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Ooh.
It's a good-oo.
I have something that perhaps will help as well. If they are feeling threatened, I could calm the emotions, bring down give us a nice way to begin. Patience with each other is always a boon in such circumstances when communication is frustrating. I could assist with that.
You're going to get them drunk.
I'm going to calm them down, but maybe you, with your new jug, could... Little alcohol does help. Yes, perhaps.
Suddenly do not want to come on this adventure. I have seen very dangerous things. I have never seen a drunk grung, and I do not quite want to.
Oh, drunk grung in dung glung flung.
Drunk grung in dung grung lung. Yeah.
You've heard of double bubble.
That's the episode title, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Drunk grung in... Oh, good lord, no.
That's my new favourite tongue twister.
Yes. But, so, perhaps you knowing their needs and wants, me keeping them calm, we have a chance. And certainly bringing them what they need, which, judging by our friends here, it's a need for everyone in Schultz. Water and food.
How big is an Allosaurus anyway?
Very big.
Big, like, in general, or big compared to you?
I was thinking like a cow. Are there cows in Schultz, Desira?
Will? What's the cattle?
I mean,
I was gonna say,
what's the cattle situation in Schultz, Will?
These are the questions that you often get asked.
These are the questions that I know DMs at home are going to be needing when they run their own campaign. Hence why we're doing Learn by Play.
Go to the Tomb Insight now.
Yeah, Tomb Insight quickly. The cattle situation in Schultz is mostly dinosaurs, so not really any cows around here. You get like big scaly cows.
Well, but
Hashtag
what is a cow?
Well, are any of these dinosaurs, these beasts, some of a more less aggressive? That we could maybe take one down.
Have you got sort of herbivore dinosaurs that you maybe also milk? Is that a thing that you do here?
Will.
Yeah, I think we need another 2 minutes.
What's the dino dairy situation?
Yeah, the milking situation on Jolt is it's mostly just jugs of mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. They literally, you can just milk mayonnaise from some, yeah.
I don't think anyone admits to milking dinosaurs. It may be that it happens, but either way, you hear a cry go out, and it's a warning signal from up on the wall, and it looks like someone out in the night has spotted something, and Commander Breakbone rushes out of his tent. Who's been milking my cows? No.
Oh, you got Louise out the nose.
That's not what he says, but he gives you a look like someone's been milking his cows, and looks up to the palisade where one of the soldiers has called down, and he says, "What's the situation?" And the guy on the wall says, "Undead, my lord."
Oh no!
And Commander Breakbone immediately goes to he goes to this big bell in the center of camp, just starts pulling on it, go dong dong dong, and everyone starts waking up. The camp wakens up, and very kind of routinely, these guys look pretty used to doing this now. Get up, grab their swords, grab their boards, and rush to defend the wall and the gate as well. One of the guards call out, "There's something big coming!" And through the jungle, you hear this. Of a large creature trampling its way through the undergrowth.
Will?
Yeah?
Since I specifically said that I used up all my spell slots, where are we in the long rest situation?
You know what? I'm being kind. You guys had the whole day at the Camp Vengeance, and therefore you guys did manage to get the long rest during the course of the day and the long conversation that you guys were having. So yeah, you hear that something is breaking its way through the jungles towards you, and this long kind of as hordes of undead must be piling towards you. You guys can't actually see them at this point because you're not on the wall.
I cast Mage Armor.
Good move, my friend. Good move.
I remembered this time.
I am going to do my Eyes of the Grave.
Okay.
This is the one that the big thing I'm looking for. It's the one that lets me. I know they're undead with it right around us, but it lets me know what is the highest challenge rating and biggest threat.
Nice.
That's approaching us.
All right, the highest challenge rating. Let me find it for you here. Let's see.
I'm not sure if it gives me the challenge rating, but it tells me. It says
the creature
you learn the creature type of the undead in the area that has the highest challenge rating. So I'm not sure if I know the actual number.
Okay, yeah.
But it lets me know what's the big bad.
For sure.
Let me guess. The dinosaur.
It's a big dinosaur. You're right. It is undead, interestingly enough. There is...
That's what I was worried about.
A undead Allosaurus headed towards you guys, along with hordes of undead which are attacking the walls, or about to, it seems like. So you do get this opportunity to do something before I'm going to ask you guys to roll initiative. I'm going to take Fulton as having done his, Bartleby is doing his mage armor, so Reverie and Desira, you guys do get a chance to do something. It's not an undead cow, I'm sorry.
Oh, God. This is exactly what I wanted to happen.
Right.
It's all playing into my plan.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Desira will just run out and she'll run to where the commander is.
Yeah.
And stand up with him, ready to go.
Yeah, he is. Go ahead, Reverie.
I was going to say Reverie is probably staying close to Fulton.
Yeah.
For the next few days.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. So Desira rushes up onto the kind of palisade wall. Commander Breakbone is at the gatehouse, and you'll be able to spot through the darkness. Several of the clerics, the ones that can actually cast, begin to send out light spells into the darkness to illuminate the area. You will see this hulking beast of an Allosaurus with its undead flesh hanging off from its body as it's been reincarnated by something, heading towards you, whilst hordes of undead zombies, by the looks of things, the kind of low CR critters that Fulton had, having sensed in the area, are moving towards you. You can't get a good clock on the exact number of these creatures, but they're in their dozens, So everybody roll me a initiative as we begin this. A little bit of combat.
It's an 18 for Fulton.
Very
It's
nice.
6 from me.
All right.
12.
Let me get this here. So a 12 from you, Reverie.
Yeah.
An 18 from Fulton, was it?
Yep.
6 from Desira.
Yep.
Bert, what did you roll, my friend?
Sorry, I was
that's
muted.
you.
Yeah, that's a 5. Nailed it.
Alright, this thing is going on a... I've had to roll d20, so there we go. 3, that's nice and slow. And... plus... Yep, on a 3. These guys are going on a... The Hordes are going on a 13.
Eep.
Yep. And the Paladins will act on a 8. Alright. So let's get this turn order straight, shall we? So it looks like we've got Fulton going first, for sure. Followed by the Hordes of Zombies. Reverie on a 12. The Paladins on an 8. Desira on a 6. Bird on a 5. And the Allosaurus on a 3. So, Fulton, Zombies, Reverie, Paladin, Desira, Bert, Allosaurus. For a note as we dive into this, because this is a kind of large-scale bit of warfare, I'm not going to roll every single roll for each of the undead or each of the paladins. We're going to describe this fairly narratively with small bouts of combat that the key characters are involved in during the course of swaying this battle. It may even be that the paladins and the zombies elsewhere fighting we're not going to bother rolling for too much, as these guys are going to be the ones swinging the course of the fight as they are our heroes. So, Fulton, at this point the zombies are a good 30 to 40 feet away from you, depending on, the front runner to the one in the back. They're kind of shambling through the forest, and the palisade looks like enough to stop, most of them. They're going to have to spend some time climbing up the wall to get to you.
Okay. How far away is the Allosaurus?
The Allosaurus, which is heading towards the front gate, is 30 feet away as well.
Can I get into visual range of the Allosaurus?
Absolutely. You can spend your move action to get up until the palisade wall.
I look at him and knowing that the zombies are the less threat from my, looking in, using my eyes of the dead, eyes of the grave, I point out the Allosaurus and just say, focus your fire on the beast. It must fall. The others, we can turn if necessary. And I am going to do a guiding bolt.
All right.
A 20?
A 20 is going to be a hit on the Allosaur.
Nice. And I am doing it at level 2 because I want to hit this thing. So if that does 17 radiant damage, and the next attack on it has advantage.
And that's radiant damage, yeah?
It is radiant damage. So Fulton goes up to the top and basically looks out at it and points out a finger, and you see this green energy build up around him and goes flowing down his arm. And as he reaches his hand out, this beam of green energy goes shooting across, again, like sunlight through leaves. Bright green goes slamming into the chest of this Allosaurus.
Nice. You see it kind of falter backwards as you stun it with this blow. And it does not look happy whatsoever as it opens its gaping maw, like a huge dogless thing, actually. As it takes that, and you can tell the Paladins were not wrong. Radiant energy looks like it sears through the kind of the bone structure of this creature, not only burning away flesh but melting its bones as well. That is your turn, Fulton. Has you got anything else to do?
Actually, while I'm here, and this is something that I, as a player, always get confused on, so would love to, even just for the stream guys, I believe since it is a cantrip, I can actually also cast Sacred Flame, whereas I couldn't cast a second spell. I could cast Sacred Flame, correct? No, I can't, because those are two actions. It's only if it's, is Sacred Flame a bonus? No.
Nah.
It's
No, okay, that only works if I do Spiritual Weapon and Sacred Flame. Again, the confusion of spellcasting.
It's all good. All right, so the zombies are going to take their turn to dash towards you, moving all the way up to the palisade wall at this point, which means that they're going to have to start doing some climbing, which they're probably not very good at, but they are within, 10 feet of the palisade now at this point, climbing up towards you guys. Reverie, it is your turn.
Okay.
You're at a 12, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your turn. As you see these creatures kind of get towards the wall, you will spot that there are a couple or amongst their number who don't look to be zombies. They look to be some kind of spellcasters that are enchanting dark magic and weaving it around.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so is it? Is anybody around the Allosaurus, or is it kind of like too far away? Like, is anybody like next to it?
No one is standing next to it at the moment. It looks like it will trample anyone that would be next to it.
You have advantage, so that means you get sneak attack.
Yeah, but I have advantage on any creature that hasn't taken a turn in
right. So
combat.
You've already got it.
So I'm trying to figure out if I need to go for the dinosaur, or I need to go for these creepy things, or like the spellcaster people.
Well, the spellcasters go with the zombies, so they have taken an action.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, then dinosaur. I'll use my short bow on the zombie dinosaur.
All right then.
And yeah, that's a
Roll
21.
an attack roll. A 21 is going to be a hit.
Yay! And so then there's the damage, and then I get to add sneak attack because I have advantage, and life is what a dream.
It is.
16.
16 damage total, yeah?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, you describe to me a wounding blow upon the undead Allosaurus.
I guess I'll probably always aim for the head, the eyes, the mouth, the throat, something like that. I doubt I would be able to blind it or like anything like that. But I think I'd probably get like a good like wedge into the throat and make it like come out with this like giant screech.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
The basics.
Yep. It is the Paladins' turn at this point as the zombies reach the threshold of the palisade. Let's go to roll for him in general on a 14. So you will see Commander Breakbone. He is directing as much firepower towards the Allosaurus as possible, as it looks like this thing is going to bust down the main gates and allow hordes of zombies to flood through. So he's going to try. He's doing the Aragorn, Legolas, bring it down! And he's directing all of you to, like, kill that monster! And he says, the gate can't take much more, it's already half broken! And, looking below the kind of gatehouse, it looks like several of the guards are, like, trying to shore up an already somewhat damaged gatehouse with planks of wood. So, Desira, it is your turn.
And just he's coming out of the foliage, right? So he's surrounded by flammable materials, just to confirm.
I mean, as flammable as the rest of Chult is, yeah. I mean, it has been raining tonight, right?
That's true.
But magic.
That's true. Magic. In that case, I'd like to set this guy on fire.
Let's do it.
She's going to... within a 7.
7 is not going to hit.
Okay.
It flies wide out into the jungle, does manage to burn down a potted plant. It's Commander Breakbone's potted plant.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he looks pretty annoyed at you. That was my milk plant. So, anything
I'll buy
else?
you a new one.
Anything else you want to do, Zero?
I don't think I can do anything else. No, I'll hold my ground.
All right, copy that. Bert Bartleby Baxter, it is your turn.
Bert Bartleby Baxter, he sort of comes up next to Desira, sort of cracks his knuckles and says, call that a firebolt. Watch this. And he summons like a small ball of fire into his hands, but it's like tiny in his hand, and then it expands like to the size of a basketball in his hand, and then it gets bigger, and he's just like, oh God, and he's like trying to balance it, just like, may have overestimated this slightly. And he pushes it forward, and I am going to roll a flaming sphere straight into this guy's, this dinosaur's face, Majigan. So this is a dex save from dear old Dino Buddy.
Dear old Dino Buddy. That's a good name for him. Let's see, his dex +1, so he's going to roll a 11, which is not
fails. No. So he takes 11 fire damage, and then there's a bonus action. I'm going to roll it down into the line of undead, because that does the... I can move it up to 30 feet. So I'm just going to, I'm not asking you to roll for everything, but yeah, just, basically go down to try and take out a score of them and set some of these guys on fire to weaken their advance.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. How much damage does fire... I guess it does it at the start of his turn, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it just goes through.
All right, it is the Allosaurus's turn. Yeah, there's some confusion as to why Desira doesn't have advantage on the attack. Guiding Bolt reads you have advantage on the next attack roll made against it. It doesn't matter that Reverie had sneak attack and already had advantage against it, no matter what the advantage goes. So that's how that
get advantage next turn.
I mean, if you had a super nice DM, I mean, maybe, but
if only.
Every single rule in D&D is if your DM lets it happen, right?
Pretty much.
So the Allosaurus is going to take his turn. He's looking pretty wounded. Does he take damage at the start of his turn, Bartleby, with Flaming Sphere, or is it the end?
No, it's the end of his turn, and I moved it away from him. But I'm gonna slap him with it in a minute. So.
All right, no worries. So he is going to bowl into the front gate. And he's going to roll a strength-based check on a 19 to bust down that door. Over huge... and the gate is bowing. You can feel the wood crunch and splinter, and the people who are trying to hold it back are like, help us! And you can see the zombies are flocking towards that zone as the gate is just being... mushed. And it cannot take another hit like that, you guys are certain. It's the top of round 2. Fulton, it is your turn.
So I see what's happening with this dinosaur, and I pull upon my connection with to the grave and to death, and I am going to try to cast Ray of Enfeeblement.
Ooh.
So I need to make a spell attack, which is a d20 plus 6.
Yep.
Does all attacks that it makes with strength.
Mm-hmm. Are gonna be
nat 1.
That's bad.
The
That's
one
bad.
time we really
Like,
needed
you
it.
actually weaken the guy who's holding the door back, you know?
Nope.
Oh, wait.
Use your
Divination.
I turn it into a 14 plus 6. So that's a 20.
20.
Does 20 hit?
That'll do it.
So, Fulton thinks that a horrible thing has happened, but in fact it is not.
Basically, as you go to cast it, Bert has a grappling hook, because I realized at some point you would ask me to climb something, and I am 2 foot tall. So I bought a grappling hook out of my starting gold, and he just like sees you go to do it, and he's like, nope! Flings the grappling hook over, and it just takes it down on target.
Nice.
Yep, so my arm gets pulled over on target, and you see this black swirling energy go spinning out of Fulton's hand and slam into
Straight out of his
the
hand.
dinosaur. It's almost like DNA, as it sort of does this double helix twist into it.
Nice.
And basically, it only deals half damage with any attack that uses strength until the spell ends. So that's me
Nice.
concentrating for up to a minute.
All right.
He does get con saves at the end of his turn to try to break it.
But at the end of
I
his
like-
turn. Good.
I like all of the zombies are just calling hacks as you auto aim straight
Yeah.
at the dino.
All the zombies are all right, so that is Fulton's turn. It is the zombies' go, and so they are going to climb up the palisades and start giving you guys some difficulties. So let's go over here and see. So who is anyone not on the wall at this point? I think you guys are all on the wall, right? Because you've all had to go up to aim towards the creature. So the gatehouse, let's divvy this up. So who is at the gatehouse with Commander Breakbone? I know Desira is. Anyone else with Desira?
I mean, Fulton, if that's where the Allosaur is, I mean, I just pointed my finger at him. So.
Yeah, fair. And Bartleby and Reverie, are you going to be in the same place as well? Or would you be on the... Okay, alright, so you guys are on the same place. Which means that a bunch of zombies are going to jump up over the wall. Some of them are getting, immediately skewered upon this palisades, but they're pulling themselves up despite the fact their whole bodies have been skewered on it. Some of them can't move, some are just crawling up. But a group of them do manage to get up here to give you some trouble. And they are going to give you some slam attacks. So you see 5 of them up on the gatehouse that are going to be dealing with you. There are others amongst here fighting Commander Breakbone, but we're not going to worry too much about them. So one of them is going to attack Fulton. Fulton, that will be a 13 versus your armor class.
Nope.
All right, he lunges towards you with a swipe but goes wide.
Put up my shield.
Yeah. My zombies are the biting type and the clawing type. These guys have slam attacks, so they're basically just punching you at the moment. So one is going to attack Reverie on a 16 versus your armor class, Reverie.
Yeah.
Damage isn't too bad on these guys, there's just a lot of them. You take only 2 damage, minimum damage on that one. As he gets you. Bartleby, he's going to get a chance to swipe at you on a 5.
Yes! A 5 actually misses me.
That's incredible. I don't think anything has missed you yet. Let's go round 4 to 0 on a 18 versus your armor class.
Yep.
Jolly good. And a 3. 3 damage is all you get.
How wounding.
Yeah. The last one, the 5th one, notices that Fulton has got some kind of beam going on with the Allosaurus. And probably not being able to recognize actually what's going on there, merely that it's making a light. He's gonna swipe at the light because zombies are pretty damn dumb. On a an 8 versus your armor class 4, and you just dodge to the side. These 5 guys just come up and just they're looking for their burgers and fries. All right, that is the turn of the zombies. There's only 5 of them up there at the moment, but more of them are coming up the wall by the minute. And you see these dark kind of necromancers are enchanting dark magic and summoning forth the zombies, pushing them onwards, giving them intent. Reverie, it's your turn.
Okay, so how close are we to the dinosaur versus?
So the dinosaur is, 10 feet below you at this point, bashing away at the guardhouse. You can have line of sight upon it. However, there are creatures within 5 feet of you that are hostile.
Okay, and then and there's no one down there attacking the dinosaur. It's just us.
You guys are above it right now, the guardhouse hasn't broken through, so when it busts through, there will be some soldiers there to hold the line, but you don't think that they're going to hold for very long against the horde.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and just try and wipe out some zombies.
Some zombies.
Bert would like to point out, just as see the guys back there, the shady-looking fellas, the disingenuous, the ones that look sort of, probably like quite a few of your colleagues, Reverie. Maybe sort of dissuade them, please. Please.
Hey, so Will, do you want to explain the mechanic about ranged attacks and us having people right up next to us?
Right, so, Reverie, you don't have any feats that help you with this, correct? You don't have,
I didn't take any feats.
Yeah. So when something's right next to you and you're within 5 feet of it, you will have disadvantage on the attack because he's, in your face.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to shoot long range or something else, you have disadvantage on the attack. Of course, if you would have advantage on him, they cancel out to just be a normal straight roll. Or you could attack the zombie which is in your face to get him out of your way.
Huh.
You could also attack the zombie which is in your face with a melee attack to get it out of your way.
Yeah, so who advantage, disadvantage, what?
You will
if you try to shoot,
Yep.
you will have disadvantage because you have someone harrying you within melee.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just
So
gonna whack
kill
it.
what's in front
He's
of you.
like getting
Yeah.
up in your grill.
That's all I was gonna
It's
do.
all in your grill.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nope. Let's check. Pretty sure the AC is higher than a 7. Check. Yep. Alright.
yeah.
Wah, wah.
Not much higher than 7, oh no. Alright, that's Reverie's turn. Does she want to move, Reverie?
Yeah, I could use a bonus action to maybe get out of the way of that one that's in my face.
Sure.
Like I can disengage with that one.
Yep.
And scurry along.
Alright then. Commander Breakbone is going to try and fight his way out of his personal situation, which he is going to do. He's going to clear several of the zombies. His personal situation is, some alimony pay that he's dealing with at the moment. Little bit of
He's got a lot going on.
A little bit of a skin rash right now, but he's dealing with it. So he gets that out of his way. Desira, your turn.
I'm going to try again. I'm very angry about missing the first time. She'll conjure this burning bright ball of fire in her hands and just with a feral yell, just throw it out for a 10. Great.
And this is against the zombie?
This is against the Allosaurus.
Allosaurus is not going to hit on a 10, I'm afraid.
That's fine. Still also fine. Because then I'm going to do a fighter feat, which I have called Axe and Surge. And just rage and fury, I'm just going to take my longsword and just slash at the nearest zombie to me.
All right.
On an 8.
An 8 is a hit.
Yay!
What?
7's a miss, but 8 is the AC of a standard zombie, yeah.
That's
8 damage.
That's 11 damage.
No, the +3 is for the critical.
Oh yeah.
So it's 8 damage. Let's see if this is enough to cut this guy down. His HP is he's not dead. He's doing fine. He takes a hit. You probably sever off a limb, which goes sailing back down and hits another zombie on the head of a dong. But this guy just kind of presses on nonetheless. It sounds just like an undead cow. So, anything else you want to do, Desira?
No, I'm good.
All right, Bert, it is your turn.
Bert calls out to the Allosaurus. Heads, and he slams a flaming spear into the side of his face.
Nice.
As my bonus action. So that'll be a dex save from the Allosaurus, and a 7 fire damage.
7 fire damage on the Allosaurus, yeah?
Yep.
Alright, that is gonna be painful to it. This creature isn't dead yet, but you can tell it's in a great deal of agony. But...
Okay. And then I am going to magic missile because I don't have to roll a hit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it at base level. And pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew!
The
Pew.
most masculine magic missile.
Yeah. So that's another 9 damage.
9? Alright. So 9 damage. Let's do some maths here. But how do you destroy the Allosaurus?
Like a mouse.
A mouse.
Like, yeah, he, so basically he just sort of like, heads up and slams this thing into the side and just, woo! And it looks up really angry at him and he just sort of, growls in his face and just, pew, with finger gun straight in the thing, one in each eye socket and then one straight down the throat and out the back of the head.
You hear this wailing as this undead creature is blasted with a flurry of magic missiles which hit it every which way, and the flaming sphere which knocks it in the side of the head as well. It burns away its flesh, melting its bones until it's nothing but a pile on the floor, unable to push forward towards the gate, which the zombies are now just helplessly kind of pouring at. And Commander Breakbone shouts, "Good job! Now let's clear the walls!" And he points towards some of these sort of necromancers down there. "Send them back to the shadow!" He goes full Gandalf on that one.
Oh, yeah.
So it's it would have been Allosaur's turn, but he's dead, which means that it's going to be the turn, top of round 3, of Fulton Stump.
Can I get to the necromancers, or within 30 feet of the necromancers?
So you'd be within 30 feet of them from where they are. They have to stay close to the zombies to enchant them, it seems like.
So they are within 30 feet of me now?
Yeah, they're on the ground floor still. They're not actually climbing up the walls themselves, but you have line of sight and range.
So yeah, in that case, I'm going to use my Channel Divinity and try to turn this whole lot of them.
All right.
So they need to start making a bunch of wisdom saving throws, or they've got to run away.
Bunch o' saves. All right, how much of a radius does this affect?
It's each undead that can see or hear you within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature
right.
fails its save, it's turned for 1 minute.
Let's see if these guys are going to be able to pass. Their wisdom is 0. So we'll roll these for like bands of 5 of them at a time.
Sure. And it's a 14 is.
Time. All right, so the first 5 are going to flee the vicinity. The next 5 also out. There are 5 of them that are going to stay up there. And the last band, that's kind of 20 in the area, are also staying. So you sent half of them fleeing back. And they just kind of, and they turn and run. As you know, they see this kind of, you see this fear register in their undead eyes as they do seem to be able to register, if not pain, the horrific divine nature that you bring.
Are there any of the necromancers still left?
They are not undead.
Oh.
So they are not turned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is something that you learn as you do that spell.
Yeah.
These guys are kind of cowled. You'd suspected them to have been undead. But
How many are there?
There are, in the area that you guys are fighting in, there's like 2 of them. And they seem to be commanding a fair amount of them, sending them forth.
So now, since that was my action, as my bonus action, I am going to cast Spiritual Weapon to try to run one of these necromancers through with my Spiritual Spear.
Ooh.
An 18, will it hit?
Baby. Yeah, that's a hit.
So this green spear just sort of appears, it almost kind of like grows, almost like a tiny seed that then grows into this long spear right behind one of these necromancers and just goes slamming into its back for 10 force damage.
Nice. It impales him through the back, running through his heart, as his incredibly feeble, weak human just dies upon your spiritual spear. As he looks down and he sees the green spear jutting out with, yes, green flames, and he falls down dead and lifeless. You also notice as that happens, a bunch of the zombies just go kind of inert, and seem to kind of like lull backwards, dying around you, as if the circuitry within their like brains has just been switched off. These guys no longer have any control over their bodies. There's still some coming at you, though. The ones that are near you guys. Spiritual weapon. Let's see. Fulton, a couple of them are going to attack you. A 5, a 4.
He's just knocking them away with his shield.
Yeah. Desira, a 6. Wow, I can't roll today. This is not a good day for me. But 21.
Ooh.
Eep! Yep.
All right, you're gonna take 5 damage.
Okay, I have to make a con save because I am concentrating on a spell at the moment. So I gotta beat a DC 10 or I lose my flaming sphere.
Ooh, don't want that to happen.
So... Nat
Oh,
1!
that'll do it.
It is now a frozen ball of ice that just falls out of the... Yeah, I fluffed it.
Yeah, you completely shank it. As like this thing just totally blasts your concentration as you just get like punched in the face by a zombie, and it's like undead. It's like it's undead flesh just kind of like coming off in your face. Little parts of it falling into your mouth as it's really sucker punch. You've probably broken your nose at this point as well. And yeah, there's kind of blood pouring forth from that broken joint right now. The other one is going to take advantage of that and try and punch Bert on a 15.
That would hit, but I'm going to shield because no, I'm sick of it. So he goes to swing in, and suddenly Bert is surrounded by shimmering blue energy, and there's just a hand like of energy that grabs the fist, and he's just like, no, just no, just away with you.
Please no, not today, sir. Come back another day.
You don't have an appointment.
Have been rebuked, sir.
This isn't the gnome wizard you're looking for. Yeah, it just kind of like, and just really reconsiders his life choices, the series of decisions that he's made, which has brought him to this point. He's like, I'm gonna go be a dentist. I'm gonna follow my dreams. That's what I've always wanted to do. He goes up, sets up a dentist shop somewhere in Chult. And that's the end of the game. No, I'm kidding. So that is the zombie's turn.
I believed.
Reverie.
Okay.
It is your go.
So now I can whack around at some zombies.
You're gonna whack around for sure.
Yay! And so now there's someone within 5 feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
You will also spot a second one of these necromancers in your area, if you wanted to.
Like that.
You could attack that person.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You wouldn't have advantage, I don't think, because no one's within 5 feet of him as an ally. But
you don't
do
have advantage anyway. That's.
Oh, okay, sure. Oh yeah, that's a level 5 thing, right?
Yeah, I'll just go for a zombie.
Alright.
Go for the zombie.
The zombies are zombling. That is one off.
7 over and over again.
You are looking for the magic number 8. But it's not upon you today, I'm afraid.
Wow, a natural 2 and a natural 1.
I don't understand.
You've done enough murdering in this campaign so far.
I used it all up.
I used all my murder.
Alright.
I'll use my bonus action to disengage again so I can get away.
Just like you come and you're like,
sorry guys,
air.
I'm just gonna come back next week. It's just not a good week for me.
Let's range check this. Yeah, okay. So Desira, your turn.
So there's one necromancer left, right?
There is indeed.
Okay, I would like to focus 3 wonderful magic missiles his way.
All right then.
I have had enough of not hitting things. She's going to send them one after the other at him.
All right, how much damage you got there?
That's 4. 3 and 2.
9.
That's 8. 9.
9.
Math. 9.
Oh, that's funny to me. So yeah, you holy moly, yeah, you fail at basic math, but you do succeed in murdering the necromancer. Tell me how you do that.
I'd like to imagine that it's just as he's opening his mouth to chant some other terrible thing when a purple bolt just shoots him right in the jaw and just gets right out and goes right through and probably knocks out some teeth along the way.
Nice.
Luckily, there's a new Chulton dentist in town.
Yeah, so excited. You see the new dentist kind of pick up.
Gives him a coupon.
Yeah, he picks up some of the teeth.
he can go over. He's like, my first customer, and then that guy dies, which means he dies as well. You are a monster. You have just ruined his entire life, his career. I'm not okay.
It's a sorry day for the undead dentist as he flees away with the rest of his companions who have either just are sent fleeing by Fulton's clerical powers, and the combination of the necromancers being defeated, along with the Allosaurus, who is probably their only real hope of busting through the main gate. You do see several of them retreating back into the forest from whence they came, and a few of the necromancers on the other side who are attacking the palisade wall there also flee back into the forest, not entirely defeated. But a few moments later, several minutes later in fact, as the rest of them flee, you find yourselves up on the guard tower with the Commander Breakbone and the rest of the Order of the Gauntlet. Several bodies of the Order of the Gauntlet lie strewn around the palisade wall, but there are far more zombies to humans than you see lying around here. Looks as though, for the most part, you've successfully defended the camp, seeing as the main door was not busted in. However, on that note, the gate itself is almost completely busted. It's been... the head of the Allosaurus almost came through, he almost pulled his alley. And at that point, you guys are going to need to do some reconstruction of that within the camp, certainly. Commander Breakbone himself looks like he is unwounded for the most part. There will be several wounded around the camp amongst the Order of the Gauntlet, however. And he breathes heavily as he sends the last of them flying, using his greatsword to sever off one of the heads of the zombies. And wiping away blood that's spewed over his face, he says, "Looks like we held the wall for another day. Let's see to the wounded." And he shouts towards some of his men and women and says, "Keep an eye in case they come back. I don't think they will, but you never know of these things." And he sets about helping people. What would you guys like to do?
If there's anyone who's close to death, as Fulton is a cleric of the grave, he can go around and do spare the dying on any of them. Mm-hmm. That basically, if they're knocked out but not dead yet, if he's there in time to see any of those and get up, and then certainly will try to heal as much as he can with what he has left in the tank.
All right. Reverie, what would you like to do around the camp?
Yeah, I'd probably, I imagine me and Bartleby can probably try and carry the jug filled with water together. Yes. And maybe go just give water to people that just need to rest, just 'cause I don't have any magic or healing or anything.
Bert actually has a job for Reverie.
Oh God.
Reverie will just you find Bird is standing on the edge of the palisade, and he's just waving his hand back and forth, and out there on sort of the strewn littered battlefield, corpse littered battlefield, you can just see a mage hand that's just repeatedly slapping this necromancer in the face, and he's just moaning, "Don't just." It's so cliche when you attack just after we've all said everything will be okay. Then he just turns to Reverie and just says, "Look, we have to go down there and we have to investigate them and go through their pockets and look for incriminating notes and maps and all that rubbish, which means I have to wade through all of that, which means I might need you to drag one or two of those necromancers closer to the wall so we can look at them closer, but I don't want to bring them inside the camp. And if they have anything of use, well, it's worth knowing now."
This seems extremely dangerous. Don't you just want to go and heal some of our friends that have been wounded?
Of course I do, but I don't have any healing magic, and I don't know anything about medicine, and I'm not inclined to do that. It's fine, Reverie. This is basically what I'm paying you for. By the way, and he hands her 5 gold pieces and just says, "That's to repay your hands."
I'll take it. And she'll go down there with them.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna have to pay you to do everything, aren't I?
I guess so. You want me to go up so you don't have to get your robes dirty?
Yeah.
Commander Breakbone and several of his order are beginning reconstruction of the gate. However, they're going to need to cut down some trees in the nearby area.
Desira will help with that. She's not very good with people, so she'll handle the gate.
All right. yeah, Breakbone will definitely need your assistance in that, in journeying out, cutting down a tree, and with the group of men kind of bringing it back to chop it down and figure out some big boards to hold their gate. Go ahead, Bartleby.
So yeah, I'd like to investigate these two necromancers who we slew on the battlefield and just check them over, see if they've got anything of interest, any loot, any information, anything like that.
Yeah.
And what are they?
These guys are humans, the necromancers for sure. They don't have any particularly interesting notes upon them, or we're the bad guys. Signed by the big bad guy. Yeah, it seems as though they've got they've got magical and alchemical ingredients upon their persons, which you could put to use.
Yeah, nick all of that.
Yeah, nick the good stuff.
No.
I'll have like a bag you can like put it in.
Big loot bag that you guys.
And
can
My
get.
purse.
It's just a swag on the side. Is there anything else out here that's salvageable, like weapons and stuff? Because I mean, like, I'm just thinking long term they probably need stuff like that. So we'll just go around pick stuff.
Yeah, the zombies themselves didn't carry any weapons upon them. They just kind of like hit people and bit people and the like. The necromancers themselves looked like they were just using magical foci. So you will be able to get 2 more magical foci in case you use your own arcane focus. Foci, I guess.
He destroys them.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Necromancers, definitely.
Yeah. We can do that together. I'll be so
I know.
a bonding experience.
Yeah, we destroy them. Never mind the fact that, you know, I have a bone dagger from an assassin on my hip that we're not going to talk about, because that's entirely fine. But these are bad, these sticks.
Yes.
All right, then. So as you guys kind of recover and help around the camp, we're going to go to our third and final Tomb Insight of the night, which is keeping our game balanced at higher levels. So we'll see these players again in a couple of minutes' time, and we'll go to our super secret DM cave one more time for tonight. All right, then. Oops, I want this one. There we go. So, everybody, our third and final Tomb Insight of the night is how to keep our game balanced at higher levels. The little 4 number that you saw by their names, welcome Lily fans by the way, is for their level. And over the course of this campaign, we're going to be leveling up more and more, which means the difficulty of the game will increase, the power level of the characters will increase, but so will that of their enemies as well. Now, I know a lot of games can get into the realm of difficulty where once you hit about level 10 to 11 or so, it feels like the players can do a whole lot with their characters, and that maybe a bit of a challenge has gone within the game itself. For instance, in that encounter, I mean, I felt like there was a moderate to easy encounter following we once showed them the Call Allosaurus, the Necromancers have been established, but as they get into higher levels, they're going to become more and more powerful, being able to do more stuff, which makes the challenges that you present them need to be more difficult as well. You can use the encounter tables that we looked at last week, which I can show for you guys here, which will show how to do the XP threshold. You can continue to do that for your own encounters, of course, but I'm not necessarily just talking about how to increase difficulty of encounters. As mentioned previously, one thing that you'll definitely want to be sure of is to keep an eye on the party's level ups. You want to know what their AC is going to be looking like. You're going to be wanting to know what new spells they've taken. So I strongly encourage, as we did at the beginning of this session, talk through your players, ask them what new spells they've taken, make sure that you have a working knowledge of what those spells do. Even though you don't necessarily have to know the exact wording of what those rules are, just have an idea, okay, he's got now a fireball, what does that mean? Well, probably means that my mobs shouldn't be all packed together all the time so that he can just do an easy fireball, and so on and so forth. Bear in mind that the enemies get more intuitive as the game goes on and levels up as well. They might stop behaving like a horde. They might start running into creatures that aren't just zombies, which have kind of mindless brains. It might just be a whole lot of apex predators that have a fair amount of cunning or intelligence, or you could even go for something like really scary, like a beholder and illithid that have a high level of intelligence and which perhaps are even more intelligent than the party members themselves, and therefore can conduct great schemes and plans and ploys for our party members to fall into. Just continuing to throw encounter after encounter at them is going to get boring and actually becomes far less challenging within the game for the players and the characters as well. One thing that you should be careful of is loot and magic items that could break the game. We've spoken previously about gold and how it's not really going to break your game, but something that can increase the party level, the power level of the party exponentially is magic items. If you keep throwing magic item after magic item of a high rarity at them, they're going to quickly find that those hard encounters are now quite easy. So I'd suggest perhaps giving them magic items that are useful outside of character combats. For instance, the Alchemy Jug that we use today, again, as another example, which is useful outside of combat, but doesn't break the game and doesn't mean that your encounters have to be all rebalanced over and over again. Another thing that you can do, which I plan on doing throughout the rest of this campaign, is to create conflicts that require more than just a military solution towards them. The conflict in a lot of stories and narratives is that go fight the bad guys and it's done, right? You know, Lord of the Rings, go kill the bad guys and you're done. But there's also a little bit more than that for Lord of the Rings. You know, they need to get something to a location. It's basically a long convoy quest, right? But there's elements to stories that you could bring in that are more than just go kill the bad guys, make sure that you kill everything along the way. Why not have some solutions and conflicts that require diplomacy, peacemaking, puzzle solving, and character development? They're all important things to think about within your narrative as well. Because believe it or not every single problem in the world can be solved by killing things. And therefore, maybe make sure that there are consequences when the party just go around murder hoboing everything, as the term is known. So rewards, alternative solutions to scenarios that they come up with, and make sure that you present them alternative solutions as well. For instance, with the Grung that they are going to meet, Commander Breakbone didn't suggest that they go and kill them necessarily. I mean, that's on the table, right? He's mentioned that they've been in fights, but he thinks that the way to get through to them is to create a good diplomatic relationship with them so that they can learn from one another. Often this leads to even more interesting and engaging scenarios because you get to roleplay the Grung rather than just have a combat scenario with the Grung, which leads to whole new quests, whole new storylines, and opens up the game to more and more opportunities, not only for yourself as a DM to make the game more interesting, but for the players as well to experience new characters and locations. I don't feel like there's much point in exploring a new world such as Chult if you're just going to go in there and kill everything. For me, an interesting part of the game is learning about the new cultures, the new weird creatures that are in the area, and I learn best about those creatures by making friends with them. So we'll see if our characters can make friends with the Grung. We'll see if we can go down that route with them, because I think it would be particularly interesting if they did. I'll look in the Twitch chat real quick, see if there are any questions about this. Where can I find correct races? Do not go to the wiki, that is correct. Yeah, I run a YouTube series called Purge the D&D Wiki. It's not a great place. The best place to find all the races, look up your 5e SRD, search that in, look in the Roll20 compendium, that's a free resource, or grab your PHB, and that's the best place to look for that. There's also free rules on the Wizard of the Coast website, basic rules. If you search in D&D 5e basic rules, you'll come up with a 50 to 70 page PDF, which is all of the free rules of the game, which are basic, but they do contain a lot of information which is useful to you guys. Everyone I play with murders first and never negotiates. Something that you can do with that is, like I mentioned, reward them when they negotiate and punish them in-game for with consequences, right? So, for instance, if you mess around with the Grung, you go kill a bunch of Grung, well, guess what? The Grung as a whole are going to be annoyed at the party and are going to be aggressive towards them, which means that there may be further negotiations which run into problems down the line. Perhaps that affects the trade economy with Portnai and Zaru, because perhaps the Grung trade a bunch of magic items to Portnai and Zaru, which means that they're not selling them anymore, not to the party at the very least, or at a higher rate. Make sure that there are consequences within the world for doing things. Most worlds have a legal system, and they are there to be enforced when rules are breaking, when the laws are broken. One thing that I will note, though, if you're looking to punish your players, make sure that you do it within the game. Punishing a player out of character can lead to a lot of issues and a lot of difficulties. We're actually going to be talking about that next week, how to deal with problem players and have open and clear communication at your table, but I'll touch on it briefly now. Make sure that it's clear that it's because it's something that they did within the world, right? You killed a person for no reason in the town. Of course, the stop right there, thief. Guy's going to come up and and try and enact some kind of legal system upon them. It's not just because you think that guy is being an idiot and you're going to say, well, now you don't get anything, Terry, you douchebag. So make sure that you enforce rules that the world would enforce, and that's how I found the best way to deal with kind of murder hoboing. The other way to do that is just to engage that person in a bit of conversation and say, listen, this is what I want from the game. I want to have dialogues. I want to have that's another word I was looking for, split page. I was looking for stop right there, thief. Yeah, goddamn Terry. Am I right? Have a clear conversation with that person. Say, listen, what I want from the game is for us to have engaging conversations. I don't want you to be murdering everyone because it means that the rest of the players aren't having a good time. All we do is combat. Combat is only part of this game and can be an interesting experience if we have different things going on than just combat. So a lot of the time people don't realize that they're being murder hobos, and that's not like a cool thing. So tell them that it's not a cool thing within D&D, and people might be like, oh, I didn't even know that murder hoboing was a thing. That's how I play video games, for instance, you know. And they're like, all right, cool. Now I'll chill and play the way that other people want to play, right? So we'll talk about that more next week for dealing with problem players. We'll have a whole week session on that. But let's go round back to our game and let's go back to the Camp Vengeance with our players. All right, you guys are back once again. In Camp Vengeance, after the combat that has just ensued there, you're boarding up the gatehouse, you're helping with the guards and the like, and Captain Breakbone will approach the group of you and say, thank you for your assistance, my friends. The attack looks like it was merely a precautionary one. We've seen worse before. But that undead creature, that was something new. I hope I don't have more of those. But, whilst I must thank you for your help, it seems as though we can't keep you any longer than you need stay here. Dawn is rising, and, well, I know that you have your own quests to fulfill. If you would stay here amongst our order for a time, then we would be thankful, but the soulmonger presses onwards and affects the world as a whole. The needs of the many are perhaps greater than our own.
I do hope our paths will cross again in the future.
He nods and does a little bow as a sign of respect and says, you'll always be welcome amongst the Order of the Gauntlet.
It is an honor, my friend. Thank you.
It's supplies you need. We have a few days' rations we can give you.
That would be
appreciated.
Much appreciated.
This is taking a lot longer than we anticipated. It's a lot more complex than we ever would have thought, which I'm sure you understand.
He nods and hands over 3 days of group supplies.
So that takes us back to 7 or to 6?
You're back to 7.
Okay.
It's Commander Breakbone.
Yes.
Yes. He says, Commander Breakbone, I have something to ask of you. Do you have someone in town who, back in the port, who would be able to send you supplies? Does anyone know you're still out here?
He shakes his head and says, we have received no communication. It's been our problem. I think everyone thinks that we're dead. And sending people upriver is, well, we have 4 rowboats and there's a whole army of dinosaurs out there waiting to...
Then I have a gift of you, only alone temporarily. I'll need him back in the future, but he can find me, no problem. And he reaches into his sleeve and produces a small raven and says, this is Reginald. I know he doesn't look like much, but...
Sounds like a chicken.
Indeed, I know. Don't ask me why. I didn't make that noise. He did. And he did a terrible job of it, and he should be most ashamed and work on his voice acting.
Feel bad about yourself, Reginald. Reginald looks down.
Reginald. It's quite all right. So he says he can get a message to the port and should be able to return here. And once he does, he will return to me. But someone needs to be informed in the port that you're still out here fighting the good fight and need supplies.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate that more than you know. Now, with your rations and supplies, there are 2 of my guards who will travel with you. Towards as far as we have gone into the jungle so far. It's a 2-day journey into the interior to where the Grung are.
If we're about to travel and not rest up, then I'll go ahead and do Cure Wounds on our buddy Bartleby, since he's Still wounded.
Yeah, I am like just bleeding on my own robes, but like stiff upper lip. I'm British. I won't complain.
No.
I will just accept that this is terrible.
This is your
but
fate.
I'm used to it. This is fine.
It's like Hull.
Friend,
Oh, English joke.
You heard it here first, thanks.
so that is 9 healing for you.
Nice.
Friend Bartleby, it is not good to go into these wilds with open wounds. Let me do what I can.
He nods and yes, absolutely. You can do the touching of me. I consent to it.
All right. So as you guys are headed out from Camp Vengeance, Commander Breakbone says his farewell. The group of you notice something twitching on the floor.
Oh no.
Of the canoe?
No, it's actually by the gate. It's actually the undead Allosaurus is twitching just a little bit. You see its claw just go, and then you see an eye flicker open.
What color is it?
It's the color of the end of tonight's session, black. Yep. And that is where we're going to wrap up tonight's session, I'm afraid, as Louise is done. She is out of here. She is done with it. As, yeah, we got some fun undead stuff going on in this campaign. Who'd have thunk it? 2 of Annihilation, you kidding me? Oh, man. But yeah, that's what we're going to end tonight's session, my friends. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another session of Learn by Play. It's episode 3. Hopefully you learned a couple little bits about experience points, level up, magic items. Take something home for your own game. Use it. Ignore my advice completely. I highly encourage you to think for yourselves and enjoy the game however you best enjoy it. So, if you guys enjoyed this show, then you guys are in for a treat, because in 5 minutes' time it's a Heroes Graveyard. No Trump's there. I think Lily's joining them tonight, so it's going to be a great show. You guys are in for an amazing one. If you like us here, we are Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will. I'm a D&D sex icon. And we stream every day Dungeons & Dragons. We've got 2 podcasts every single week. You can follow us here on this channel, Encounter Roleplay, on Twitch for Daily Dungeons & Dragons, where you can find us playing a bunch of games as well, like Call of Cthulhu. Give us a follow, show us some love, and we'll see you guys around. Just very quickly, blast around the cast and crew. Did we enjoy ourselves? Where can we find you guys online? Let's start with Toll Scroll. What do you think, my man?
Great session always, and fun to sort of show off some of the abilities of this new Grave Domain subclass that is now going to be showing up in Xanthars, which I'm very happy about. And you can find me all around the internet. Best way is through through Twitter. I'm at Tallsquall, and you can find links to everything else there. I do DM my own campaign earlier in the day on Saturdays, and you can hear me on Mondays on Turncloak's podcast, which is all kinds of fun, dark, depressing fantasy. But it is amazing. The whole cast is great, and we're having a great time doing it. So please tune in.
Yeah.
And that's it for me.
Yeah. It's great to see so many people here every single week as well. It's like every week there are more folks here enjoying Learn by Play, so I love seeing that. Sid, yourself.
Hi, I'm Sydney, and I have rotten hands. And
Can confirm, boys.
hi. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, all of those things. It's at Sydneyak, which is up there above me. How crazy. And then I'm also on Turncloaks, our podcast every Monday, which you can follow on Twitter at TurncloaksPod. And I am the Dungeon Master for our other podcast, which is WonderQuest Pod, which you can follow on Twitter at WonderQuestPod. It's all a fun time, all having great Dungeons & Dragons nerdy
Good times together with friends. Yay! Josh, yourself.
Yeah, I'm also part of the Turncloaks crew, which is just as miserable as everyone has described. I had a blast tonight. I invented gnome bowling by greasing myself entirely in what was probably mayonnaise, because there's been a strong mayonnaise theme tonight, and that's really, on point. But looking forward to getting really, really drunk with a bunch of frogs next week who are the same size as me, because that's what I play D&D for. You can find me on Encounter Roleplay Mondays, Tuesdays, and a load of other times, and definitely check that out. And over to someone else.
All right, Louise.
That someone else is me. Hello, I'm Louise. Proper enjoy today, as always. Absolute highlight of my week. I cannot wait to find out where this is going. You can follow me up there at No More No Less on Twitter, Accidental Legend here on Twitch, and I'm not part of the Turn Class podcast, but I am part of the Wonder Quest podcast, and you should listen to them both. Not at the same time, though, because that would just get confusing, but I highly recommend the both of them, and I hope y'all have a lovely day.
Absolutely. That's weirdly smooth for you, Louise, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it nonetheless, and now I expect you to do that every single week. But thank you guys there in chat, all 2,500 of you guys, for dropping along today. Hopefully you guys are going to join Heroes Graveyard. I know that you guys are. Hopefully you enjoyed the Learn By Play. You can use a hashtag Learn By Play on Twitter if you want to ask us any questions. There are all of our collective Twitter handles. We're about 24/7 to answer D&D questions, and on our own channel, Encounter Roleplay, we're all about helping you guys learn D&D. So if you have any question whatsoever, tweet to us, follow us on Twitch, send us some questions. We would love to help you guys out any way that we can. That is our mission here on Twitch, to help you guys out with your own D&D 5e campaigns. So we'll see you guys soon, and until next time, try not to roll too many nat ones, because we want to be laughing when you do. Good night, everybody!